In front of me, the words were floating in what could only be described as a total emptiness. What? Was the only thing I could manage to say at this point because I was so shocked by the circumstances. Out of all the souls that died at that time, you have been selected to reincarnate into a unique world with unique abilities. You're very fortunate. That's when it hit me metaphorically. I fucking died. I officially detested drunk drivers even more than I had before. After a few moments of fury, I was overcome with a chilling sense of dread. I fucking died, I uttered aloud. God damn it. You have the gamer's powers, which were chosen at random from a hat. Now, your life will function similarly to a video game, with abilities, levels, and stats to gain through grinding and loot. As I stared at the words floating in front of me in the emptiness, I blinked in response. I tried to scratch my scalp but felt nothing. I looked down while blinking, but all I saw was more of the empty space. I said, "Where is my body?" while blinking and gazing at the empty space where my body ought to be. Now that you're dead, what use is a body to you? I idly noted that the words were in a light blue box as I gazed at them. I twitched my eyes and asked, "Mouthy little shit, aren't you?" Let's get started. Your choices in the character selection screen will determine the randomly generated body you receive. Or are you going to keep whining about everything? I scowled back. I sighed and slumped. Fine, I said. Soon after, a bigger blue box with several checkboxes and options in front of me materialized. The first thing to consider is where you will be born. Each place has pros and cons, and it also restricts your choices for the clan you were born into. Only one perk per birthplace may be selected. I looked at the screen of options in front of me and hummed in response as I reached out to hit the that was positioned next to the Aim no Kuni entry. Aim no Kuni, the nation of Omegacure, ruled by Akatsuki and Hanzo the Salamander, has been involved in a protracted civil war. Associated benefits will be compelled to Child Soldier. Having been drafted into the military as a youngster, you must learn quickly or perish even more quickly, but in return, you will only be able to comprehend war and combat. Plus 100% XP earned in combat, plus 50% XP to ninjutsu and battle-based skills. Minus 100% XP earned for non-combat activities, minus 50% XP for ninjutsu and non-combat based skills. One with water. Since water has always been by your side, it has ingrained itself into your very being, giving you a natural water affinity at the expense of your inability to ever develop a fire affinity. Plus 200% XP gains to water chakra affinity. Learning fire ninjutsu and obtaining a fire chakra affinity are not possible. Rain Child. You've always been an odd kid, feeling more energized and able to sense people whenever it's raining, as though the rain itself were a part of you. When it's raining, chakra sense is active. All stats are plus 10, and when it's not, all stats are minus 10. Before I closed the window, the list continued with more options. This would be interesting, I guess. I glanced at the next few entries, ignoring them because, well, they were filler nations, until my gaze fell upon Mizu no Kuni's entry. Currently engaged in a civil war, Mizu no Kuni is the nation of Mizugakure, where bloodline abilities are persecuted and hunted to extinction by the Sandaime Mizukage. Associated benefits will be compelled to Child Soldier. Having been drafted into the military as a youngster, you must learn quickly or perish even more quickly, but in return, you will only be able to comprehend war and combat. Plus 100% XP earned in combat, plus 50% XP to ninjutsu and battle-based skills. Only applicable if you select a clan based on Kekkei Genkei. Minus 100% XP earned for non-battle activities. Minus 50% XP to non-battle-based skills and ninjutsu. Lavaborn. You were born with the ability to combine fire and earth to create lava, and your clan has discovered the secrets of one of nature's more destructive powers. Start with the natural earth and fire chakra affinity perks before attempting lava release jutsu. A bone to pick. To quench their thirst for combat, members of the now-defunct Kagaya clan attacked their own village. You can use the Dead Bone Pulse, which gives you plus 25% experience points for fighting skills and ninjutsu and plus 50% experience points for fighting. Minus 25% of experience points are awarded for non-combat skills and ninjutsu, and 50% are awarded for non-combat activities. Ice Cold. You belong to the almost extinct Yuki clan, and your ability to use your clan's ice release jutsus helps you stay safe while being hunted down and hiding. Ice release is usable. Natural water and wind chakra affinity perks are the first things you get. Boiling water. The fact that the clan that was given the boil release lived in Mizu no Kuni should have come as no surprise. Everyone will be anxious to join you in the water. Boil release is accessible. You begin with the chakra affinity perks for natural water and fire. A killer personality. Your village is known as the Bloody Mist for a reason, and your history is tainted with blood from before you even enrolled at the academy. Your legacy of killing people to survive is what makes people uneasy around you. Start at distrusted status with numerous factions and individuals. Start with the silent killing perk, and gain plus 100% XP to silent killing and hidden mist jutsu, while all reputation gains are minus 100%. Swordplay is fun. The 7 swordsmen of the mist are so well known in your village that you want to be like them, but your haste to do so has caused some shortcomings. Express for all non-sword-based skills is minus 50%, while Express for sword-based skills is plus 250%. To be perfectly honest, there were some alluring options there, but trying to survive the Civil War, I finally threw away the screen. Fuck that shit. Kaminari no Kuni was the next entry I chose. You have been warned that Kaminari no Kuni, the home of Kumogakure, one of the Great Five Nations' more militarized villages, is susceptible to cold weather, falling hazards, and raping Jinchurikis. Associated benefits will be compelled to stormy skies. The Raikage selected you to learn a particular style of jutsu at the academy. Storm release is accessible. To run away, though, for some reason, people seem to believe that you prefer to flee battles. Your clan has always been quick with their secret technique, and you have been no different. People will tend to make fun of you if you have a quick release available. Thunderstruck. Although you have a deep understanding of lightning and thunder from living in the land of lightning, the constant noise does damage your hearing. The availability of thunder release will put hearing tests at a disadvantage. Sagely weapons. Few people are fortunate enough to learn how to use the Sage of Six Paths artifacts, but you have, and with it, people with less than useful means have taken notice. If you have access to the tools of the Sage of Six Paths, you will be the target of constant robberies and assassination attempts. Take a ride on the lighting. When they begin training you in his technique, many people hope you will be able to do the same. The Sandaime Raikage made his name known by avoiding everyone but the Hachibi. Beginning with the natural lighting affinity perk, you will train intensely in lightning release chakra mode. Failure to do so could result in death or permanently crippling injuries. Taken aback by the light. Light is scarce in Kumogakure because of the regular storms and cloud cover, but your clan always had an abundance of it because of your hidden jutsu. The light release perk should be used first. There are definitely some enticing options, particularly the Ride the Lightning perk, but I was put off by the death and the lifelong, incapacitating injuries. I closed the screen, shook my head, and went through the list before choosing Kase no Kuni. The people of Kase no Kuni, where Sanagakure lives and where a vast desert dominates the landscape, are resilient and unfazed by the frequent sandstorms. Associated benefits will be compelled to Sandwalker. Is it really surprising that you can move through the desert with ease given that your village is located in the middle of it? Otherwise, living here would be foolish. You won't get lost in the sand and have no movement restrictions when traversing the desert. You also know where to look for water oases. Burning winds. Although your clan has always been smaller, their jutsu is terrifying, especially in the desert where hot winds blow every day. The scorch release is accessible. Start with the benefits of natural wind and fire affinity. A magnetic personality. Given how powerful the Sandaime Cage was, being able to move iron particles is sure to draw attention. Available is magnetic release, iron, more focus on your career. How could I be harmed by a bolt of cloth? It doesn't appear very impressive at first, but like all ninja, appearances are deceiving because all you need is some cloth and a little fuinjutsu to accomplish a lot of things. A technique for manipulating cloth is available. Gains of 15% in Express for fuinjutsu skills. Puppets, not dolls. In Sanagakure, puppetry is a highly esteemed custom, despite the fact that some people may occasionally make fun of it. Available puppetry, frequently made fun of for using dolls. To be honest, I'm not sure about Sanagakure. It would be good to try to make Gaara a friend, but Gaara. Then, next. Iwagakure's home, Tsuchi no Kuni, is a difficult place to grow things, but despite the fact that stone rules, people manage to survive there. Associated benefits will be compelled to conscripted unless you choose the Merchant-Born perk. You are drafted into the Shinobi Corps. Iwagakure has always been militant, and if you aren't useful in the village, you're cannon fodder until proven otherwise. Kaboom! Well, explosions are fantastic and literally at your fingertips. There is an explosion release available, and your hands are your mouths. Built of stone. Your body is as hard as the stone you live on, making it difficult for someone to hurt you. However, it is also difficult to sense subtle changes in your body. The sense of touch is reduced, and stone body release is accessible. Like a mole. You were always more at ease beneath the earth than above it. You never knew what might fall from the sky. Because of this, you are essentially blind. You can use the available hiding like a mole jutsu. Blind. Fingers that are sticky. All you know is that some of this stuff is pretty cool. You get plus 250% XP for picking pockets and sleight of hand skillset, but people always blame you for their missing items. Sometimes things just fall into your pockets without your knowledge, and other times they fall into other people's pockets. Dust is dangerous. That's right, you have the Sandame Tsuchikage's attention and dust release with it. However, if you make a mistake, he will have your head. Well, that's going to be a resounding nope. Living in Iwa would be even more difficult than working there. Hai no Kuni, Konohagakure's home. Comparing this country to others like Mizu no Kuni, it is fairly moderate. Because of the size of their territory, they are arguably among the strongest economically, even though they are not as strong militarily as others. Associated benefits will be compelled to. Jutsu thieves. A member of the Sharingan bloodline and a member of the Uchiha clan. Able to pick up non-bloodline jutsu plus 50% faster and gain plus 50% more Sharingan Express, but exercise caution. Uchiha has demonstrated some degree of mental instability. Plus 1 dex, plus 1 wis, and plus 50 chakra per level. Eyes in the back. Byakugan bloodline wielder and Hyuga clan member. When activated, it provides the user with 359 degrees of vision. When you unlock the Hyuga skill or jutsu tree, people will always question whether you are watching them. Plus 2 int and dex for each level. Dogs are man's best friend. Cats are unnecessary. With your friend by your side, at least you'll never be alone. Ninken user and member of the Inuzuka clan. You gain 50% more experience points, have access to Inuzuka techniques, and have a Ninken partner until they die. You will act more animalistic and have dog-like instincts if you have plus 2 dex per level, so be on the lookout for squirrels. For the swarm. Many people don't give bugs much thought, but you do, which isn't surprising given that they reside inside of you. Being a member of the Aburame clan gives you access to the Aburame clan's skills and techniques, as well as a plus 50% experience boost. People are frequently grossed out by you. Plus 2 wis for every level. Mindwalker. You treat other people's minds as your playground, despite the fact that the mind is a delicate organ. A Yamanaka clan member. Yamanaka jutsu and techniques have a plus 50% XP bonus, but using them will make your body weak. Plus 1 int and dex for each level. A member of the Nara clan who is troublesome. Although you are always perceived as being lazy, you have the best mental acuity in the village and are extremely skilled in the shadow possession jutsu, which is the family's signature technique. Plus 25 int score on creation, plus 50% XP bonus to Nara jutsu and techniques, but lack of motivation to do much. Minus 0.5 STR and VIT per level, plus 2 int and wis per level, unless training is done frequently. Big eater. Some people eat more than others do. You are sometimes referred to as fat because you belong to the Akamichi clan and have one of the largest appetites in the village, but you certainly know how to throw your weight around. Plus 50% XP bonus for Akamichi techniques and jutsu. Each level's plus 1 STR and VIT will always be on the large side. Uzumaki descendant. Some members of the clan moved to Konoha and established themselves there while the rest of the clan was dispersed. Hopefully, some people will heed the warning not to try anything with your ramen. Plus 3 VIT per level and plus 100 chakra. Some will be interested in learning Fuinjutsu because it comes with a 50% XP bonus. Clanless. Despite being prosperous merchants, your parents have never learned how to use chakra, and you lack a repertoire of exclusive techniques to learn. Good luck, buddy. Unless you're lucky enough to make close clan friends, you're on your own. However, you have more money to work with and no clan techniques of your own. I sigh as I peruse Konohagakure's many benefits. After all, if I were being totally honest with myself, it was probably the best place for me to start because Naruto was there and he literally changes the world. At one point, Sasuke was present and attempted to control it. I groan as I go over the options more thoroughly and weigh my options before selecting the Uchiha clan option. A wave of something went through me before a new screen appeared, and I growled, "Fuck it, in for a penny, in for a pound," before accepting the perk. Congratulations on joining the Jutsu Thieves clan. The message makes me roll my eyes. You begin with 4 perk points to select from the options below. These may be temporary due to unforeseen circumstances, but you will not receive any points back if you lose them, so proceed with caution. As I closed the screen, a new one appeared with a variety of options in front of me, including choices for specialization and chakra affinities. Alright, let's get started. Fangirl, only female. You belong to a fangirl horde. You are the best at stalking your target, but you bring kunoichi into disrepute everywhere. Plus 50% XP gain bonus to skills related to stalking. Other kunoichi despise you for bringing them into disrepute. Angry Avenger. You're going to do whatever it takes to find and kill the person who killed your family. Gaining bonuses of plus 100% XP for combat-related skills, minus 100% for social skills and being easily influenced by others, plus 2 STR and VIT, and minus 2 WIS per level. No Jutsu. You are unable to use ninjutsu or genjutsu because your chakra coils are damaged. You have compensated for this, though, by honing your taijutsu techniques. Plus 100% XP gain bonus to taijutsu. Unable to use genjutsu or ninjutsu. Get undercover. You've always been fascinated by sharp objects, and you've always felt comfortable handling weapons like shuriken and kunai until they were thrown, of course, so it wasn't surprising when you picked up as many as you could. Throwing weapons skills gain 50% more experience points than other skills, but you will always need to purchase new supplies. X. Experience the burn. Fire has long been used to burn enemies to ash, drive predators away with its light, and warm people on chilly nights. When it comes to dealing with your adversaries, fire is your preferred weapon, you little pyro you. Start with natural fire affinity and use fire ninjutsu and nature manipulation to gain plus 50% express. Make a splash and no one gripes about a freshwater source, and not much can stop a rushing tide of water, but be careful not to drown yourself in your own technique. Start with natural water affinity and use water ninjutsu and nature manipulation to gain plus 50% express. Blow them off. When you go into battle, you will blow people off their feet, even the tallest mountains are low to the wind. Start with natural wind affinity, and use nature manipulation and wind ninjutsu to gain plus 50% express. Power of the earth. Nobody wants to be buried alive, and you can make your enemies fear it. Keep in mind that you are incapable of breathing earth on your own. Start with natural earth affinity and use earth ninjutsu and nature manipulation to gain plus 50% express. Shock and awe. With the light and noise your techniques create on the field, nobody can miss them. Hopefully, your opponent's nervous systems will hold up after you've finished with them. Start with natural lightning affinity and use nature manipulation and lightning ninjutsu to gain plus 50% express. Illusion Master. Reality is an illusion in and of itself. Use your genjutsu skills to make your enemies doubt that and confuse them all. However, you should avoid getting too close to people because you are weak. Minus 50% for taijutsu skills and plus 100% for genjutsu techniques. You don't fuck with the white mage, says X, Medic Nin. You destroy the organs of your enemies and heal your friends. Now you just have to remember where you left your watch. RyugaXD gains 100% express, but enemies will attempt to attack you first. Too much chakra. You have more chakra reserves than you will need for the majority of the year. Benefits include the potential to use shadow clones and the ability to level up your ninjutsu to devastating levels. Nevertheless, you have always struggled with chakra control and have a tendency to overpower your genjutsu, so illusions are essentially useless to you. You have plus 300% chakra reserves, which enables you to learn Shadow Clone Jutsu, plus 100% ninjutsu strength, minus 50% express gain to chakra control exercises, and minus 95% genjutsu integrity. Who was that, I wonder? Since your face blends in with everyone else's, you've never really stood out from the crowd, which makes your infiltration missions much simpler. For all the advantages and disadvantages, stealth is better because you don't stand out in a crowd. Cool guys don't look at explosions. Ever since learning how to use an explosive tag for the first time, you've had the urge to use it to blow up your problems with powerful explosives. Hopefully, your allies aren't around. Fuinjutsu, explosive notes. Gains plus 250% express, but your explosions have a wide splash radius and can hurt allies if you're not careful. Flicker. According to you, a shinobi's greatest asset is speed, and the body flicker jutsu is the best ninjutsu ever made. You struggle to sit still, and you gain 100% XP in body flicker jutsu. Attuned to nature. Being in nature instills a sense of tranquility and serenity in you. But as everyone knows, if you annoy Mother Nature, she can be a real bitch. The natural senjutsu perk begins, but you struggle to live in civilized areas. Prankster. It's training. Hey, you get the wrath of everyone you play pranks on, whether intentionally or unintentionally, but at least it helps you become skilled at trapping and stealth. You gain 50% more experience in trapping and stealth skills, but you lose the respect of those you prank. Pervert. You openly read the Icha Icha series. You will lose your reputation if caught, but you will receive a plus 25% bonus for your stealth skills when snooping around about your sexual orientation. Super pervert. You want to write your own Icha Icha books and become the next Jiraiya. Just watch out that you don't get caught snooping around the hot springs Kunoichi. Sneaking a peek at your sexual orientation can earn you a 50% bonus, but if caught, your reputation will suffer greatly. Number savvy. You've always had a knack for numbers, and when you began managing it yourself, money wasn't a big problem. It's easier for you to find deals and make wise investments. Truth seeker. You've always resented falsehoods and deceit and sought the truth at all costs. Gaining 50% more experience in interrogation techniques and being able to uncover the truth, good or bad. We'll meet you with a knife. Shinobi have mastered the art of using knives. Don't make a mistake and lose your fingers. A 50% increase in express for knife fighting abilities. X. With this sword of mine. You've always liked the way light glints off a sword's edge. Some people even believe you like it even more when your enemy's blood is on it. Gain 50% more experience in Kenjutsu. Packrat. Well, after all, shinobi never know where their mission may take them, so you never know when a 5-year-old newspaper will be useful. At least you have some good storage seals, right? You will always keep everything you learn, but you will gain plus 150% XP in Fuinjutsu, storage seals. X. Sealmaster. Hey, they seal Biju using Fuinjutsu. Would you really want to have sex with someone who has made that art their own? Bonus of plus 50% XP for Fuinjutsu. As I browsed the options, my non-existent eyes started to hurt. Oh my goodness, there were so many. Finally choosing my 4, I shook my head. Feel the burn, Medic Nin. With my sword. As well as Sealmaster. My eyes hurt like nothing right now, and I wish I could rub them. We appreciate you finishing the character creation. The process of reincarnation is now underway. Enjoy yourself. I blinked and then a flash of light blinded me. Then I was looking up at a ceiling above me, wondering what the fuck had happened. Wait a what? I asked myself. Reincarnation is complete, and we are now beginning the basic tutorial. Please vocalize status to access your status page. I gazed at the box and blinked. I raised an eyebrow and ventured, a status. Hey, I felt that. Good. A screen appeared in front of me, and then another screen obscured it, as if the world had stopped. The world keeps moving while you have this active, but no one else can see it, so be cautious. This is the status screen, where you can see your current status. Additionally, we've made it so that all you need to do is consider what you want to do. Also, you get 100 express for opening your status screen for the first time. I groaned a little, then threw the screen away and checked my status. Yuriko Uchiha is his name. Level 4. Express 103 thousandths. 7 years old. Gender female. Title student at the academy, plus 25% XP up to level 10. Data 240 hydrogen phosphide CP 466 STR 15, 22.5. Int 14 Dex 19, 28.5. VIT 16 Wis 19 Luck 1020 stat points are available. Well, that was at least something to work with. Hold on, what was said by gender? A woman? Me? However, I'm a man. Could you please explain this, Mr. Textbox? Upon reincarnation, the character's gender and appearance were determined at random. Oh, happiness. I responded with a little whimper as I managed to stay surprisingly calm, given everything. Could that be? Perks. A list of my benefits appeared in a new window that appeared before me. Benefits Sealmaster. Hey, they use the seal Biju from Fuinjutsu. Would you really want to fuck someone who has made that art their own? Bonus of plus 50% XP for Fuinjutsu. You've always loved the way light dances off a sword's edge, and some people even believe you like it even more when your enemy's blood is on it. That's my sword. Gaining 50% more experience in Kenjutsu. You don't fuck with the white mage, said Medic Nin. You destroy your enemy's organs and heal your friends. Now you just need to remember where you left your watch. RyugaXD gains 100% express, but enemies will attempt to attack you first. Experience the burn. Fire has long been used to burn enemies to ash, drive predators away with its light, and warm people on chilly nights. When it comes to dealing with your adversaries, fire is your preferred weapon, You little pyro you. Start with natural fire affinity and use fire ninjutsu and nature manipulation to gain plus 50% express. Natural fire affinity. It's time to unleash your chakra's fiery energy and show the world how much it has always blazed. 15% off the cost of chakras for nature manipulation and fire ninjutsu. Gamer's body. 100% of your HP and CP are restored while you sleep, 75% in someone else's bed, 50% in a sleeping bag or tent, and 25% on the ground or in trees. Your body is, at least in part, that of a video game character. Gamer's mind. You have the mindset of an RPG player, so try to remain composed and make some sensible decisions. Although you can relax more readily, extreme emotional distress can still have an impact on you, so exercise caution. That's a thing, then. Now that my thoughts were under control, I started to think about a crucial query. At what moment am I? I lay motionless in bed and asked myself that question. Evidently, I was pre-massacre, or at least I hoped so, given that I could hear movement in the house I was currently in. At that point, memories started to flood my mind as I attempted to sort through them. I saw pictures of what could only be my parents. Learning the fire release. Great fireball jutsu to impress my parents and clan elders, starting at the academy. Learning chakra control from my mother, and going through basic training with my father as he started teaching me the Uchiha Taijutsu style. Everything rushed at me, occupying my thoughts for a few seconds while I let out a gasp. The memories were still there, waiting for me to call on them, but the pain from the rush of them had vanished, just as it had begun. My mother called through the door, and I was startled out of my reverie by a knock. With firmness, she said, "Yuriko-chan, it's time to get up." "I'm up." I call back as I sit up, revealing the basic t-shirt and shorts I wore to bed beneath my cover. Although it was odd, calling my mother that, "All right, breakfast is on the table, and your father is eyeing it," was not surprising. Strange, isn't it? I automatically called back, "Just getting dressed," letting my instincts guide me a little as I leapt from my bed and made my way to the dining room. My memories tell me that eating was the first thing I did before getting clean, so I called out to my parents, "Good morning," as I emerged from my bedroom and went to the table to eat breakfast. "Good morning, Yuriko-chan," my father said. He was a sturdy man with a wiry build and wrinkles on his face, indicating middle age. His onyx eyes glinted with laughter, and his typical black Uchiha hair was cut short. "Good morning," my mother said as she put more food on the table. She was a motherly figure with gentle features and a gentle face. Her hair was light brown, unlike most Uchiha, but she still had the characteristic black eyes of the Uchiha. "Ready for your test today?" I quickly checked my memory, and sure enough, I had studied last night for a brief written test that I had today. "Uh-huh," I nodded in response as I started to eat the bacon, eggs, and toast that was placed in front of me. "It'll be easy." My parents, who were so incredibly strange intellectually, laughed at my excitement. With a soft smile, my mother said, "Well, when you get home, we can get you started on the next level of chakra control." As my recollections revealed what that was, a freaking tree walking, and my eyes brightened. I expressed my excitement for what I believed to be one of the most underappreciated methods available by saying, "Awesome. You're telling gravity to shut up and jack it while you run up walls." Walking on water like a ninja Jesus was the only thing better. I giggled in response to my mother's playful ruffling of my hair, which made her laugh. "Did I just giggle?" she asked with a playful smile. "Come on. Go get a shower, you don't want to show up to class all stinky, do you?" I said, "Right," as I got up from the table and made my way to the restroom, my feet following the stairs on their own. I opened the status screen after I got in the shower and let the water run automatically. I looked at my stats, unsure of what I should aim for, and muttered to myself, 20 points to allocate. Huh? Ma, a help screen? For me, a useful little box appeared. This is a basic overview of the meaning of each screen element. Consult it if you are unclear about any of your gamer power's effects or capabilities. Level. Your present strength level. The more you learn, the higher a level you achieve. Each level grants you 5 stat points to use as you see fit, along with a bonus based on any associated benefits. Express. Every action you take earns you experience, which adds up to a level up. The amount of experience you gain can be affected by certain status effects. Age. It should go without saying that your age has an impact on how other people act and treat you. Gender. It should go without saying, but some missions are exclusive to a particular gender. Title, as titles are earned by your actions and behaviors. Exercise caution because not all titles reflect well on you. You have to make sure that you don't hit 0 because there are no retries or loading up saved games if your health, or HP, hits 0. determined by multiplying base VIT by base STR. Use CP, chakra points, carefully because many of your actions require chakra. If you hit 0 and try to use more, you will not only get debuffed, but your HP will be used instead. Determined through the multiplication of base int and WIS. STR. You punch people so hard, essential for both your normal carry weight capacity and taijutsu and weapon wielder builds. Int. How intelligent are you? How easily you can learn new information and solve complicated math and science problems depends on your intelligence. Dex. Your ability to aim and coordinate your body is a measure of your dexterity. If it's low, you run the risk of tripping, getting hurt by thrown kunai and shuriken, and cutting your allies with your sword. How healthy are you? According to Vitality, this will aid in the removal of toxins and incapacitating consequences such as illness and concussions. WIS. Your ability to make decisions. Being intelligent is one thing, but being wise is quite another. You might unintentionally defect from your village as a result of a series of bad choices if this stays low. Luck. Good fortune. Has a hand in a lot of things. A little luck can go a long way, but Lady Luck isn't always present, so exercise caution. Well, that's really quite beneficial. I appreciate it, Mr. Textbox. I was planning for a white mage type of build, so after carefully examining the effects of each, I decided to put 5 points into my WIS, int, and Dex before putting 3 into STR and 2 into VIT. I nodded and verified my new stats. Level 4. Express 100, 3007 years old, gender, female. Title: Student at the Academy, plus 25% XP up to level 10. Data: HP 324, CP 656, STR 18, 27, int 19, Dex 24, 36. VIT 18, WIS 24, Luck 10. Not too bad, a little heavy on the chakras, but when I learned medical jutsus, speaking of which, it would help keep people alive. I yelled, skills, as I started washing my neck-length hair. Ability: Fire Release. Great Fireball, active, level 3 to 22.32%, Uchiha Clan's staple jutsu. Burn your enemies alive with a continuous flamethrower or a massive ball of fire. Fireball: 106 fire damage with a 30% chance of inflicting the burn status, 100 CP per fireball. Flamethrower: 56 fire damage per second, with a 30% chance of inflicting the burn status, 50 CP per second. With multiple offshoot forms, Uchiha Interceptor Fist, passive, level 10 of 15.01%, is the main and fundamental taijutsu of the Uchiha clan. Each Uchiha has roots in this technique, which maximizes the use of the Sharingan to anticipate and counter enemy attacks and boosts Dex and STR by 5%. Throwing something shiny and sharp at your opponent is the mainstay of shinobi distractions in basic Shurikenjutsu, passive, level 5 to 97.90%, plus 15% more accurate shuriken and kunai throws. Basic Kenjutsu, passive, level 8 to 88.12%. This is the fundamentals of wielding a sharp metal sword. With it, you're just one step up from those clueless people brandishing them around. Plus 8.5% bonus to Dex and STR when using a sword-type weapon. The Ninja Get Out of Death card is Substitution Jutsu, active, level 6 to 40%, shit out at your enemies who believed you were dead. It costs 10 CP per use and lets you switch places with an object up to the weight of a medium-sized dog up to 4 times in a row to avoid an impending attack you are aware of. The Instant Disguise Kit is Transformation Jutsu, active, level 4 to 72.34%. Although this genjutsu allows you to hide from your adversaries, it is extremely brittle and easily broken. It has the ability to change into someone 50 pounds lighter than you and within 2 feet of your height. 15 CP per second. Clone Jutsu, active, level 8 and 9.02%. This is a very simple cloning technique that can produce up to 8 clones per use, with 10 carbon monophosphide, clone. It produces illusionary clones that don't have any shadows or sound. Okay, so it looks like I have something to work with, but I wasn't sure what my maximum was for each one. Was it 100? Not as much? A variable? As I rinsed the suds out of my hair, I finally shrugged in response. I'll have to figure this out later. For now, I had an academy of freaking ninjas to attend. Even though I was aware that the foundational years were filled with theory and history, ninjas. Alright, on the plus side, I now know what era I'm in. On the minus side, I'm in the latter stages of the Third Shinobi World War. Fuck. Alright, turn on gamer's mind and prevent me from going into a panic. Okay. Stress simply disappears because I am a stream. No, it's not functioning. Well, plan B is to divert my attention with classwork, which I did just in time when the Shurikenjutsu instructor moved to block our path to the target boards. With a severe tone, our teacher, Asai Sensei, exclaimed, "Okay. I hope you all understand the rules by now. So break them, and spend the afternoon with me cleaning the academy with a toothbrush." Asai Sensei glared at the people who, based on my recollections, were the class troublemakers, and several gulps were heard. Though I'm fairly certain one of them gained experience from the bird he killed as it flew by overhead, I watched with interest as my different classmates went through the 3x3 drill. Some of them were decent, while others were spectacular for all the wrong reasons. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror of a nearby window, with my ebony black hair pulled back in a ponytail at my neck and a pair of bangs framing my plump face. I'm a kid, after all, and all kids look plump. And a cute nose, a face that, if I were to judge it correctly, would turn out to be quite beautiful. I was wearing a dark blue t-shirt with a Uchiha fan on the left shoulder, black shorts, and the oddly cozy open-toed shoes that shinobi liked to wear, but my body wasn't much to look at. Again, I'm a kid, why do I have to keep telling myself that? After interrupting my self-evaluation with a pair of names, Asai Sensei yelled, "Sayuri-san, you're up," and I moved forward to the throwing line. All right, throw when ready. I swallowed a little in anxiety. Physically, I had done this before, but what about mentally? I opened the shuriken holsters on both thighs, scooped out a handful with each hand, and threw them away, trusting my physical self. In the show, they made it seem so simple, but in practice, let me tell you about another story. I could feel every tiny muscle twitch in my fingers as I threw the shurikens towards the targets, even though my mind was letting my body control everything on autopilot. Yes, I think it's awesome how well controllable my body is, but training since I could walk would make someone like that. Even though only 4 of my 10 shuriken hit the bullseye, there were still a number of thunks as they struck the target, but that was the best part of the day so far. Asai Sensei grinned and nodded in agreement, saying, "Excellent work as always. Sayuri-san," which made my heart skip a beat. "You may go back." "All right, just to make sure, am I crushing on him?" "Thank heavens it's not." The man was simply very difficult to please. "Okay, I can handle that. Goddamn, it's difficult to get used to this. It seems so simple because of all those fanfics about reincarnation. However, this is not a story. This is reality." I snapped out of that dangerous thought pattern by shaking my head. No need to go all Deadpool on people, and returned my attention to the class, noticing a couple of tiny boxes. Your shuriken all hit the mark. Bullseye plus 122 basic shurikenjutsu express gained after 4 hits. The level of basic shurikenjutsu has increased to level 6. Shurikenjutsu basic has advanced 1 level, status 7. Your reputation with Asai Sensei has grown as a result of your ongoing training progress, plus 50 reputation each with Konoha Ninja Academy and Kanjo Asai. Your dex has increased by 1 as a result of your diligent training with your deft fingers. Well, that's awesome. Okay, let's continue this gravy train. I did have one question, though. Where were the quests that typically accompanied the gamer powers? Oh, hold on a minute. The quest alert for the Shurikenjutsu practice was right beneath all those boxed messages that brought me good news. Quest alert. The time was up. Show off your growing Shurikenjutsu skills to Asai Sensei. Make sure every shuriken hits the mark. Perks 1. Make 2 bullseyes. 2. Get 3 bullseyes. 3. Get 4 bullseyes. Reward. Plus 100 reputation with Kanjo Asai and the Konoha Ninja Academy, plus 150 experience points. A bonus reward for every bonus reward earned, get 50 express. Oh no, 100 more reputation points and 250 experience are gone. One of my classmates overheard my little moan of disappointment. The blonde girl next to me asked incredulously, "Man, Sayuri-chan, even with doing the best out of all of us, it's still not good enough for you?" Although her hair fell in ringlets around her head instead of a straight ponytail, she actually had iris-free blue eyes that made her look a lot like Ino from the show. Chika Yamanaka-chan. For this reason, she is related. I rubbed the back of my head and bluffed, "Well, I kinda realized I messed up midway through it, Chika-chan." Another said, "Man, you really are a perfectionist," as he walked up to us laughing and brushed a bang of his short gray hair back. His dark green eyes gleamed mischievously. "Oi Nanase-kun. A civilian boy, according to my recollections." In response, I smiled at one of my new friends and shrugged. I said, "Well, My family does have pretty high standards, Aoi-kun, without incident. Aoi responded with a dramatic sigh. He sobbed dramatically, alas, I am but a humble former civilian and as such can never understand the complexities of clan life, which made Chika and I laugh. Hey, at least to me, the guy was pretty funny. However, it did help me unwind a little more. After all, I just had to have some faith in my memories, and the more at ease I was, the more naturally the necessary action came to me. Okay, I can do this. Okay, so once you get past all the theory and paper crap, ninja school is fucking awesome. Even though I received 150 express for finishing the test with a score higher than 75%, doing well on the test still added a point to my int score. Fortunately, I did notice the test quest alert. Deep in contemplation, I started walking home to the Uchiha district after hanging out with my two friends. Itachi was born around the beginning of the Third War, if my memory serves me correctly. Since we were in the second phase of the conflict, which had lasted no more than 3 years, I should be at least 6 years older than him. You've used your wisdom by carefully considering the situation. +1 wis. Is the text box supporting my theory or disparaging me? Anyway, that made my CP better. Speaking of actually status, I muttered, and the screen appeared before me. Level 4. Express. 250, 3007 years old, gender, female. Title. Student at the Academy, plus 25% XP up to level 10. Data HP 324 CP 700 STR 18, 27. Int. 20 Dex. 25, 37.5. VIT 18 WIS 25 Luck. 10 Nice, 700 CP already. I believe my statistics are looking pretty good right now, but I must admit that I was concerned about my low luck score. Would it go up if I played poker or something? Well, I guess it's something to try later. When I entered the Uchiha district, I was distracted from looking at my stats by the sight of multiple shinobi scurrying past me through the gates and others limping in with casts and bandages. Now that I think about it, I wonder if my dad didn't have bandages on his left leg. My mother was frequently working as a medic in the hospital, and my father had been wounded on the front lines. Damn, I really need to pay more attention. This led me to consider the benefit, Medic Nin. I chose it because I believed that if I learned Ryujutsu, I would be able to save more lives. However, the benefit would be useless if I never learned it, wouldn't it? I pressed my lips together and started to jog home, determined to ask my mother to begin teaching me Ryujutsu. Fortunately, my mother was home and delighted that I was interested in learning Ryujutsu. The bad news is that learning Ryujutsu is incredibly difficult. In all honesty, I was only learning the fundamentals of relaxation, and it took me over a dozen attempts before a window announcing my mastery of the ability appeared. Congratulations! A new skill has been developed as a result of your hard work. The most fundamental Ryujutsu employed by medical ninja is relaxation, active, level 1 to 0.00%. The user uses their chakra to relax the target, relieving their weariness and promoting chakra regeneration. They're unable to use this technique on themselves. 20 carbon monophosphide per second, plus 100% chakra regeneration on target. Your reputation has grown by plus 250 with Shiger and Genrai Uchiha and by plus 100 with the Konoha hospital staff as a result of your diligent efforts to learn Ryujutsu. Quest finished. Your mother has successfully taught you the relaxation technique. Plus 625 XP. Ryujutsu scroll. Gentle healing. Obtained. Beginner Ryujutsu skill unlocked. My mother clapped her hands together and exclaimed, "Amazing, Yuriko-chan," with excitement. Wow, I think we may have a medical prodigy on our hands, don't you think, dear? As my test dummy for the technique, my father patted my hand resting on his shoulder and laughed in agreement. He kept his hand on mine and sighed slightly. Yes, it's always nice to have more Irionen on hand, he said. Such a shame Tsunade-sama's proposal fell through. He nodded in agreement, and my mother let out a sigh. She announced, "Well, either way, here, Yuriko-chan. This is the next basic jutsu for Irionen," while taking a scroll out of her equipment pouch on her small back. Gentle healing. Jutsu, not great for serious injuries, but good for scrapes and bruises. I accepted the scroll with a smile. As I looked at the pop-up, I exclaimed, "Thanks Mom," with a happy laugh. Soft healing. Learned the jutsu scroll? WIS 20 plus in 20 plus YN are required. I put the scroll in my own equipment pouch and smiled, ignoring the pop-up for the moment. As I cheerfully told her, I'll be sure to study it carefully before using it, she smiled in agreement. She ruffled my hair and said, "That's my girl," I squawked indignantly in response. With a dejected expression on his face, my father asked gravely, "Just don't push yourself too hard, all right? We are shinobi of Konoha, yes, but if we waste our lives by needlessly rushing forward, we won't be of any use to the Hokage, now will we?" After taking a deep breath, I nodded. My parents are probably very pro-Konoha, or at least I hope they are. My dad patted my head and grinned back. Good, was all he needed to say, and that was all he said. All right, so I had to focus more on my memories because my older brother, Sakari Ni-san, had recently returned from a frontline deployment. As he greeted us at the front door, looking exhausted but unhurt, my heart leapt with anticipation. Sakari Ni. At that moment, my body's natural instinct took over, and I let it run its course as I threw a tremendous hug at my brother, who grunted kindly in return and gave me a big smile on his weary face. His black eyes were warm as he looked down at me, his hair a sloppy mess hanging like a mop from his scalp, and only his headband prevented his hair from getting into his eyes. "Hey, a squirt," he said in return. "Man, you've gotten taller. I hope you've been keeping up with your training." I smiled back, regaining my composure as I processed my brother's memories. "I'm learning RyugaXD," I exclaimed with a broad smile as I stepped back to place my hands on my hips. "I already learned the first just Mom taught me." In response, Sakari Ni lowered himself to my eye level, put a hand on my head, and looked directly into my eyes. He grinned proudly. He laughed as he said, "Well, I'll be counting on you when you become a genin to keep me together in the field then." I yelled, "Of course, I'll be better than even Tsunade-sama," and allowed myself to get swept up in the childish enthusiasm as my family chuckled. He laughed and said, "I look forward to seeing that then." My eyes widened in anticipation as he said, "How about I show you some cool kenjutsu up tricks tomorrow after class? Can't have our medic be unable to defend herself after all." "Right," was my enthusiastic reply, and I gave him a proud salute. I firmly believe that Itachi couldn't compete with my brother, who is truly amazing. Don't look at me that way. He is, in any case, he was in my view. My brother and I had drifted apart over time, with arguments arising between us, and I had forgotten the joys of having a relationship with a brother. This was my second opportunity, and I was not going to let it slip away. After classes, Sakari Ni had come to pick me up from the academy. He stayed behind to briefly brag to some of my classmates before escorting me to the clan training grounds. He was holding 2 bakudos as we entered one of the unused ones. The Uchiha clan training grounds are now open to you. Plus 200% CP regeneration while idle, plus 50% XP gained when inside boundaries. I quickly pushed the window aside as I concentrated on my brother, praying he didn't see me moving my arm. "All right," he said, passing me the smaller bakudo, which was sized for me and shaped like a kodachi. "We'll start with reviewing some of the katas we went over last time," he said. Quest alert. Take some time to practice kenjutsu with your brother. Goal get, beginner kenjutsu, up a level, bonus goal. 1. Learn, beginner kenjutsu, at a higher level. 2. Beginning kenjutsu, max out. Reward plus 250 express and plus 200 rep with Sakari Uchiha are the main goals. Bonus goal. 100 rep with Sakari Uchiha and 200 express for each goal accomplished. It was enjoyable to train with my brother, and as we went over the various forms that I needed to develop in order to move on to the next level, I actually gained a level toward the end of our time on the training ground. My basic kenjutsu skill was at level 10, and I had even gained a few levels in the relaxation justice through some practice. My brother kept a close eye on me while I performed the katas, paying attention to where I placed my feet and wooden blade as I moved steadily faster and faster under his probing scrutiny. Sakari Ni grinned and said, "I'm impressed, Squirt, you really have been working hard at it," as I stopped. "I think you're at a point where you can learn some of the more advanced stuff. Once you get that down, you can branch into the Uchiha sword style." The Uchiha had a sword style, holy SHT. Who could have known? "Really?" I said, grinning eagerly that he had come back. "Definitely," he said, and I promptly confirmed when a window asked if I wanted to advance from basic kenjutsu to intermediate kenjutsu. His words, "We can start with that later though," interrupted my joyful little dance. "I'm sure Mom's finished with dinner and we need to clean ourselves up if we want food." In return, I laughed heartily as I trailed behind my brother, who was far more amazing than Itachi, as we made our way home. Quest finished. Your older brother is happy that you finished training with him. Plus 200 reps and plus 437 XP with Sakari Uchiha completion of bonus objectives. Plus 200 reps and plus 350 express with Sakari Uchiha. You have reached the peak of your reputation with Sakari Uchiha. Have you been making friends in the academy? My brother asked, grinning down at me as we strolled. I said, grinning broadly. Chika-chan and Aoi-kun. Chika-chan is from the Yamanaka clan and Aoi-kun is a civilian. My brother ruffled my hair a little and laughed. He said, good to know, in response. Always remember, Yuriko-chan. Konoha shinobi always look out for one another. In this village, all of us are one big family, okay? It's a good thing that my brother was a Konoha loyalist. However, he was anticipating an answer, so I picked up his tone and nodded solemnly. I asked, and family always protects each other, right? And my recollections gave me the answer he was seeking. It goes double for us Uchiha as well, he added, grinning proudly down at me. Exactly, he confirmed. Our clan and the Senju founded Konoha, so that makes us everyone's older sibling. It is our responsibility to use our eyes to watch for dangers that come for Konoha, even if it means giving our life to protect our family. As he spoke, I glanced up at my brother, who seemed to be lost in some sort of memory. His eyes were a little far away, but he blinked and returned to me as though nothing had happened. So, can I count on you to keep the village safe when I can't? Of course, I exclaimed enthusiastically. I'll be like you and protect the whole village with my kick-ass skills. Sakari responded with an indulgent smile. Good, he said, giving me a tender head rub as he approached the door of our small house. I'm glad I can count on you. I sincerely wish I had been focusing on my brother more rather than enjoying his warmth. Perhaps then I would have been able to spot the early warning signs. Status, I whisper as I lay in bed following a satisfying home-cooked meal and a warm shower, the screen appearing in front of me at once. Level 4. Express, 1867, 3007 years old. Gender, female. Title, Student at the Academy, plus 25% XP up to level 10. Data HP 324 CP 700 STR 18, 27. Int. 20 Dex. 25, 37.5. VIT 18 WIS 25 Luck. 10-0. Nice, I'm more than halfway to my next level. I vocalized, skills, after a minute of rechecking my statistics. Ability Fire Release. Great Fireball, active, level 3 to 22.32%, Uchiha Clan's staple jutsu. Burn your enemies alive with a continuous flamethrower or a massive ball of fire. Fireball 106 fire damage with a 30% chance of inflicting the burn status, 100 CP per fireball. Flamethrower 56 fire damage per second, with a 30% chance of inflicting the burn status, 50 CP per second. With multiple offshoot forms, Uchiha Interceptor Fist, passive, level 10 of 15.01%, is the main and fundamental taijutsu of the Uchiha clan. Each Uchiha has roots in this technique, which maximizes the use of the Sharingan to anticipate and counter enemy attacks and boosts Dex and STR by 5%. Throwing something shiny and sharp at your opponent is the mainstay of shinobi distractions in basic Shurikenjutsu, passive, level 7 of 43.06%, plus 15% more accurate shuriken and kunai throws. Intermediate Kenjutsu, passive, level 1 to 0.00%. You are becoming proficient in both attack and defense, and you know a few basic sword katas and combos. Using a sword-type weapon gives you a 10% bonus to Dex and STR, a 5% chance to block incoming attacks, and the ability to use basic sword fighting special moves. The Ninja Get Out of Death card is Substitution Jutsu, active, level 6 to 40%, shit out at your enemies who believed you were dead. It costs 10 CP per use and lets you switch places with an object up to the weight of a medium-sized dog up to 4 times in a row to avoid an impending attack you are aware of. The Instant Disguise Kit is Transformation Jutsu, active, level 4 to 72.34%. Although this genjutsu allows you to hide from your adversaries, it is extremely brittle and easily broken. It has the ability to change into someone 50 pounds lighter than you and within 2 feet of your height. 15 CP per second. Clone Jutsu, active, level 8 and 9.02%. This is a very simple cloning technique that can produce up to 8 clones per use, with 10 carbon monophosphide, clone. It produces illusionary clones that don't have any shadows or sound. The most fundamental Iryojutsu employed by medical ninja is relaxation technique, active, level 4 to 4.11%. The practitioner uses their chakra to relax the target, relieving their weariness and promoting chakra regeneration. They are unable to use this technique on themselves. 20 carbon monophosphide per second, plus 100% chakra regeneration on target. RyugaXD for beginners, passive, level 3 to 32.74%. You are now one step above people who know first aid. Although you won't be doing surgeries anytime soon, you can treat minor wounds and prevent infections. 3% CP cost for RyugaXD. My skill set is expanding quite rapidly, at least. I waited a few days to learn the gentle healing jutsu in order to study the scroll and, second, to lessen the possibility of causing suspicion if it were to vanish from my possession. To be totally honest, though, I have no idea how well I stack up against Genin. If only there were a way to compare their stats and other information. Well, I'm a fool. I pulled out the Bakudo I used to practice with my brother and gave it a serious look. I muttered under my breath, "Observe," in an attempt to activate the ability that all gamers employ. Come on, look. You've developed a new ability. With the power of the gamer, Observe, active, level 1, is the go-to skill for seeing the stats of people and things around you. It costs 10 CP per use. Wooden Kodachi. This practice sword is made of wood, has a Kodachi-like shape and size, and is appropriate for children around 7 years old. It has 5 to 10 bludgeoning damage and adds 15% experience points to Kenjutsu skills. The level of Observe has gone up by 1. As I put the Bakudo down and collapsed back onto my bed, humming to myself as I thought about my powers some more, I barely controlled my squee of excitement at my new ability. Reputation, she said after a few moments, bringing up a new screen. Personal records 205 thousandths for Konohagakure, well liked. Friendly Uchiha clan 5,000 7,500ths Shigeru Uchiha, honored 8,000 10 thousandths. Honored Genrai Uchiha 8,000 10 thousandths Sakari Uchiha, exalted 25,000 25 thousandths. Yamanaka clan. Neutral, 1,752,500ths Chika Yamanaka, friendly, 5,237,500ths. Neutral civilians. 502,500ths friendly Aoi Nanase 5,027,500ths. Academy 3,155 thousandths. Popular Kanjo Asai 4,505 thousandths. The question is, however, why my brother seems to believe that I am God or something based on my reputation with him. Help, I said, bringing up the reputational explanation. Personal records. This is where you can find out how you stand with the various people you have met so far. Whether your reputation is good or bad, it affects how you relate to other people. Some may dislike you for hanging around with someone, while others may like you for disagreeing with them. Your reputation can even influence what quests show up. Exalted. Those who hold you in exalted status will put your safety above all else, even at personal expense. You will receive special quests from them, and working with them will increase your teamwork skills by 100%. Honored. When working with people who hold you in honored status, you are highly respected by them. They will protect you and always help you when you need it. You also have a 75% effectiveness rate in teamwork skills. Friendly. You will protect each other in battle because you are friends. When working with people who hold you in friendly status, your teamwork skills are 50% more effective. Well-liked. When working with people who hold you in well-liked status, you are more likely to be liked than disliked, and they will be more receptive to your advice. Plus 25% effectiveness in teamwork skills. Neutral. They see you as a stranger on the street and neither like nor dislike you. Disliked. When you work with people who consider you to be disliked, you lose 25% of your effectiveness in teamwork skills because you have irritated them enough for them to ignore you. Hated. When working with people who hold you in hated status, your teamwork skills are 50% less effective, and there is a slight chance that they will attack you at first sight unless they are on neutral ground controlled by a neutral party. They hate you and what you stand for, and they might try to stab you in the back. Reviled. Minus 75% effectiveness in teamwork skills when working with those who hold you in reviled status. Unless you are on neutral ground held by a neutral party, there is a good chance that they will attack you on sight. Good luck trying to get them to listen to you. These people will be spitting on your grave when you die, preferably at their hands. When working with people who hold you in war status, teamwork skills are useless. They will attack you at first sight unless you are on neutral ground controlled by a neutral party. War. Whatever you said to this person, they will never forget it, and only the most dire circumstances will get them to listen to you. That was helpful, I suppose, to a certain extent. I suppose I should watch for my brother's special quest, but when will it happen? I let out a sigh, turned over on my side, and tossed aside the various boxes. I'll try to figure this out later because my body is still young and sleep deprivation will be bad for me. Even though 3 months and 5 levels had passed, and Konoha's version of winter had arrived, which was essentially above freezing temperatures, which was awesome for a Canadian. However, it was a bit of a bummer that there was no snow to shovel from the driveway, no freezing your ass off going to the store, and no Christmas. It's pretty amazing how quickly time can pass when you get into a routine. However, one significant event occurred that disrupted the routine. My class was graduating early because of the high number of casualties on the front lines of the war, and as a result of our accelerated training program, we were deemed fit for duty and issued our headbands following a quick examination. I was given a new quest as soon as I received my headband and was paired with a team. Our new sensei never even gave us the genin exam. Essential quest because of the war going on in the elemental nations, you were made a genin early. Protect your home and allies from invasion while ensuring your own survival. Goal: avoid destroying Konohagakure or any of your allies and live to the end of the Third Shinobi World War. Reward: plus 25,000 Express, plus 5,000 Konohagakure reputation, plus 2,500 Allied Nation reputation, and the War Veteran perk were all obtained. Additional goals: stay alive with your whole team. Reward: plus 1,000 reputation with Jonin Sensei and your teammates, plus 5,000 XP. A failure: death hell, there was no way to refuse the quest. Well, shit. The bright side was that I was on the same team as Aoi and Chika, so I suppose that's a plus. I muttered, observe, as I glanced at my teammates' statistics once more. Chika Yamanaka is her name. Level 9. Express 2,354 5,500ths. 7 years old. Gender female. Genin, plus 25% XP until level 25, is the title. Data: HP 255, CP 456, STR 17, Int 24, Dex 45. VIT 15, WIS 19, Luck 10. Advantages: Yamanaka, plus 15% XP to Yamanaka clan techniques, plus 1 Int and Dex per level, and access to Yamanaka hidden jutsus. Plus 2 Dex per level for Nimbleness Poisoner, plus 75% chance of giving targets poison status, plus 25% potency to create poisons and poison-based jutsus. Aoi Nanase's name. Level 9. Express 1250, 5,507 years old. Male. Gender: Genin, plus 25% XP until level 25, is the title. Data: HP 380, CP 338, STR 20, Int 26, Dex 21. VIT 19, WIS 13, Luck 10. Grateful, Civilian, Barter, Skill plus 25% effectiveness. Per level, Intelligent plus 1 Int. Turning back to my sensei, I triggered observe once more. To be honest, I had no idea how it related to others, but they were superior to the majority of our class. Hasai Nato is his name. Level Express 43 years old. Male. Gender: title Jonin Sensei, plus 25% training effectiveness, Genin. Data: HP, CP, STR, Int, Dex, Vita, WIS, Luck. Oh, alright, then, helpful, anyhow. Alright, I know you all only just graduated, and early at that, but we have a job to do, Nato Sensei said as he addressed us from the college. Bandits are targeting our supply lines from the capital and we think they may have enemy shinobi helping them. You have 2 hours to gather your supplies and equipment. I will meet you at the main gate. A new quest: get rid of the bandits who are encroaching on Hai no Kuni's supply lines. Goal: get rid of the Darkwood bandits and any shinobi who might be helping them. Reward: plus 10,000 Ryo, 1,500 rep with plus 4500 XP, plus 500 rep with Konohagakure and Hai no Kuni. Bonus goal: take out 10 bandits on your own. Discover who is aiding the bandits. Win without losing as a team. Reward: plus 10,000 Ryo and plus 1,500 Express for each completed objective. A failure: death potential, minus 5,000 rep with Konohagakure. Accept? Why? And I nodded my head in acceptance of the quest, saying to my friends, I'll see you guys at the gate, before directing my chakra to my legs and running home to gather my equipment. Is it just me, or does this seem way too high level for a bunch of genin? When I arrived at the front door, my mother was waiting for me with a tight expression on her face as she examined me. Yuriko-chan, she sighed heavily before abruptly embracing me tightly and saying, come back home, okay? I felt a knot in my throat as I realized that this might be my last opportunity to talk to my family. My mother was going to join them soon after I graduated, and even though she wasn't my biological mother, she was still my mother. I will, I vowed, giving her a firm hug in return. She wiped away her tears and said, "Okay, you go and get ready. I have some rations ready for you to take with you," before grinning at me and saying, "And here, you may need this out there." A box appeared as soon as my hand closed around the pair of scrolls she held out for me to take. Mystical Palm, Acquired Jutsu Scroll Essentials. Int. 25 plus Wis. 30 plus Acquire Knowledge. Y.N. Chakra Scalpel, Acquired Jutsu Scroll. Essentials Wis. 25 plus Dex. 25 plus Acquire Knowledge. Y.N. I looked at the scroll and blinked a few times before turning to face my mother, who grinned and said, "I know," in a soft voice, "that you have some way of learning justice from scrolls instantly. Go ahead, we won't tell anyone because your brother was the one who noticed it." "Okay," was all I could say before I hit the accept button, the scroll disappearing from my grasp as the information filtered through my mind. I could only stare in shock at my mom before wiping my eyes clean of the tears that started to well up at the unflinching acceptance she showed me. The Mystical Palm Jutsu was incredibly versatile. It could not only heal, but it could also cause cell replication and, if used properly, even cause cancer. "I know that look," my mother said knowingly. "Yes, Mystical Palm is a very dangerous technique, so be careful using it on your friends and only experiment with it on your enemies, okay? It's not well known outside of Irionen." I could only respond with a stupid nod while looking at my loving and kind mother, who was pushing me to conduct experiments on our adversaries, but we were both shinobi. After a moment of staring, I said, "Right, I will," and said, "I'm going to go get my stuff now. I hope that when we see each other again, you can trust me with the secret you've been keeping," my mother said hopefully as I made my way to my room, grinning and nodding in agreement. At her request, I stopped in the hallway and finally swallowed the lump in my throat before responding, "I promise, I will explain all of it." My mother gave me another back hug and said, "Thank you," before patting my back and saying, "Go now before I keep you here forever." I gave her a quick smile over my shoulder, like I wouldn't drive you crazy within the first week. With a dramatic sigh, my mother said, "Far too true," as I walked into my room. I said as I walked in, "Equipment," without lowering my voice because my mother knew, and a box with a picture of me in the middle appeared before I started loading the equipment my brother had bought me as an early graduation present before he headed back to the front lines. I was well aware that my mother was watching me from the door as my equipment appeared on my body. Apparel def total. 10 The Hite 8 of Konohagakure, the head, Konoha Hite 8. Basic style with tea blue cloth. Displays a spiral leaf to show your loyalty. Access to Konohagakure only quests is possible with plus 25% rep gains from quests starting in High no Kuni. Durability is 100/100ths. Face. Lower face mask. Chakra cloth, black, is a unique face mask that enables the wearer to use fire-breathing justice without setting the mask on fire because it has chakra-receptive threads woven into the fabric. Durability 100/100ths, plus 1 def, minus 50% chance of being recognized by hostile shinobi. The neck is empty. Empty left shoulder, empty right shoulder. Dark gray is the standard issue forearm protector for the right arm. Durability 100/100ths plus 2 def. Dark gray is the standard issue forearm protector for the left arm. Durability 100/100ths plus 2 def. The hands are black fingerless reinforced gloves, with a metal plate sewn into the back. Plus 1 def. 100/100ths durability. Standard long sleeve shirt with a turtleneck to cover the neck, torso, long sleeve turtleneck black, is 100/100ths durable. Dark gray standard issue chest plate. This is a standard chest plate for people who want a little more protection. Durability 100/100ths plus 5 def. The standard issue pouch for all shinobi is the waist, equipment pouch, which has multiple storage seals sewn inside for additional storage. Presently kept 50, standard issue kunai. This all-purpose weapon is used by shinobi worldwide and has 10/25 slashing damage. Medical provisions, a 30-day supply of rations. Legs. Standard issue combat pants, navy blue, usually worn by Konoha's shinobi forces. These combat pants are standard issue and are impervious to burns, rips, and tears. 100/100ths durability. Shuriken holster. On the left thigh. Standard issue. Holds 50, standard issue shuriken, slashes 10/20. Shuriken holster. On the right thigh. Standard issue. Holds 50, standard issue shuriken, slashes 10 a 20. The preferred footwear for shinobi is standard issue open-toed shinobi shoes, 100/100ths durability. I leaned over and started tying the ends of my pants around my ankles as soon as I had the equipment ready to make sure I wouldn't trip over the hem. After finishing that, I quickly observed on the gift my father had given me. Custom-made Kodachi. Guardian. This sword, which you can use with the skill, Chakra Flow, is made from chakra-receptive metals and was given to you by your father. Slashing damage range. 75/100. Strongness 2500/2500ths. I made a few test drawings to make sure it was good and not too difficult to draw in its proper position before clipping it onto my back. After checking that everything was in order, I exhaled deeply and turned to face my mother, who was holding several boxed lunches. I quietly informed her, "I'm heading out now," as I took the lunches and sealed them in my equipment pouch. She gave me a soft kiss on the head and sighed softly, "I look forward to when I can see you again. Watch your teammates' backs and listen to your senses, okay?" "I will," I made a solemn vow. "See you again soon." I wiped my glistening eyes on my sleeve as I hurried to the gate for my mission, giving her one last quick hug before running out the door. I heard my sensei whisper into my ear over the radio, "Are you seeing anything out of the ordinary, Uchiha?" I lowered my binoculars as I pressed a hand to the throat mic I was wearing. Seriously, these guys basically have codexes but no telephones? Seriously? While mentally cursing my lack of Sharingan. Right now, it would be very beneficial to be able to see chakra. As I spoke, her voice was barely audible above a whisper. "Nothing on my end," she reported. "Their scheduled guard rotation went off at the same time today." "Understood. Yamanaka is on her was to switch out with you," he responded. "Code word is sanguine." I said, "Understood, sanguine," while mentally comparing my response to my mental code phrase, manual. "I'll give my detailed report when I return." My sensei was a jerk with extreme paranoia. That whole discussion? It was all in code. Sanguine is the code word for unknown spotted on the eastern side, and China-chan was not coming to relieve me at all because she was stationed in the north. As I quietly adjusted, I was grateful that I had not yet reached puberty because it was hard enough to sit here and observe and record every little detail of the bandit camp below. I was on my period and not at all prepared to do it. As I lifted my non-reflective binoculars to my eyes and looked around the eastern side of the camp, spotting the unknown my sensei had reported on from his position on the opposite side of the camp from me, the mere thought of it sent tiny shivers down my spine. A hite 8 on his forehead with a slashed RyugaXD symbol told me that the man was a missing ninja from RyugaXD. Fortunately, he wasn't Hidan and no way in hell was I going to touch that level of crazy this soon. He was tall, standing at a massive 7 feet 5 inches, and he was made entirely of solid muscle and moved with a cat-like grace. He also didn't have any symbols of Jash in him, at least not ones I could see. Even though he was weaker than Hidan, immortality is a bitch to deal with, so hopefully this guy wasn't some sort of Jashinite back then. I studied the bandit camp, idly observing that the shinobi was having a heated conversation with someone we tentatively identified as the bandit leader. However, I was too far away, even with binoculars, to accurately read their lips, so I made a note of my best effort for Sensei to look over and see if he can extrapolate. However, did Hidan's immortality extend towards something like cancer? Skills, I whispered softly, bringing up my list of skills to my most recent additions, which I had somewhat tested during our journey and at our overnight stop. Mystical Palm, active, level 1 to 45.32%, the standard Iryojutsu of medic shinobi worldwide. The Mystical Palm is one of the most versatile Iryojutsu in use, including the Chakra Scalpel Jutsu. It can be used creatively to damage your enemies or band heal your allies. One medic 9 even noted, "I can heal my enemies to death." Damage varies depending on usage. Depending on usage, Chakra Scalpel, active, level 1 to 34.56%, is a standard jutsu that both the medical community and the interrogators have learned. It can only cut what the user wants to cut, including targeted organs, while leaving the skin intact. Although I am aware that my life is currently a game, I must ask, what are the house rules for injuring someone's heart? A jutsu like this would cause near instant death if it were directed at the heart, so someone like Tsunade would need to be available to save the victim. I suppose tomorrow's attack on the more than 40 bandit camp will give me the opportunity to put that theory to the test. I raised my binoculars and looked down at the only shinobi we had our sights set on. "Observe," I whispered, attempting to determine whether the range was fixed or if my binoculars could be improved. Out of range of the target. Damn, no, they didn't. I sat down for a lengthy wait and let out an inaudible sigh. A half hour before the sentries switched shifts, it was finally time, and Sensei had signaled to us all to begin our approach. At this point, they were at their most inattentive, not thinking about their perimeter but rather about getting drunk around the fire or going to their bed. Silently, I moved closer to my unknowing target, adjusting my kunai grip as I went. When I was within range, I jumped up, wrapped my hand around my mouth, and gabbed my kunai twice, just like we were taught in the academy. I was barely able to contain my yelp of surprise at the dead weight of a 30-something man slumped on top of my 7-year-old girl body. Fortunately, I had my chakra supporting my muscles, allowing me to quietly set him on the ground with my eyes popping up. The first strike hit him in the larynx, removing his ability to make any noise other than gurgling, and my second strike struck him in the temple, causing him to go slack as he crumpled back into me. Critical sneak attack. Instant death. 10 wooden arrows and U-bow were looted and kept in inventory, along with plus 437 XP and plus 500 Ryo. I killed a man just now. Oh, fuck. I knew my eyes were wide now because they were shaking, and I was having a hard time not throwing up as I looked at the blood on my hands. Goddamn, I just killed it. My sensei's voice interrupted my panic attack before it could take hold, asking, Uchiha, you okay? I swallowed my response. I exclaimed, first sentry down, sensei, and was astounded by how composed I sounded. Moving on. Understood. I inhaled deeply as I watched the gamer's mind notification come on. Then I closed the window and concentrated on my task. My team is counting on me, I told myself in my head as I continued to move in silence, my attention suddenly drawn to the surroundings. It was strange because I could see exactly where everything would be, including the falling leaves and the lone squirrel climbing a tree. It was more like a supernatural awareness of everything I could see than a true, slow-motion effect. As I advanced, I was able to spot the second bandit sentry I had to kill. I could make out the hazy outline of chakra encircling him, accumulating around his body, his chakra. Before chakra landed on my hands briefly passed through a series of seals. When something alerted the bandit to my presence, I leapt, my hands reaching out for him. He turned, his eyes widening as he took in my presence, but it was too late because my hand slammed into his forehead, channeling my chakra scalpel directly into his brain, leaving his skin and bone intact. Blood started to pour from his nose, eyes, and ears, destroying his brain. A new window appeared in front of me at that precise moment. Sneak attack is essential. Kill it right away. A Darkwood bandit was killed by you. Gained plus 500 Ryo and plus 437 XP. Inventory contains the looted iron spear. I was so preoccupied with my first kill that I failed to notice another window beneath that. The stress of your first kill and your determination to defend your teammates have caused you to awaken your Kekkei Genkai, the Sharingan at stage 2. When used by a non-Uchiha, Sharingan stage 2, active, passive, level 10 to 0.00%, is 25 carbon monophosphide per second. When used by a Uchiha, it is 5 carbon monophosphide per second. Plus 10% dex when active. Elemental Kekkei Genkai and Hidden Jutsus cannot be learned. However, one can observe the opponent's hand seals to learn their jutsu. Give people superhuman awareness and a small amount of foresight into everything that is visible to the naked eye. I see now why everything was so obvious to me. I shook my head, pushed the windows away, and concentrated on my task. After taking out my 2 targets, I was to use ninjutsu to attack the camp directly and create as much chaos as possible to hide my teammates' approach. I formed the 5 seals I needed for the fire release. Great Fireball, by climbing up one of the taller trees and breaking through the top so I could see the camp below. After finishing the seals, I took a deep breath, feeling my chest expand as I worked the fire-natured chakra into the shape I wanted. Then, I exhaled, sending a single, enormous fireball straight into a cluster of tents close to the camp's center. Crucial sneak attack. 5 Darkwood bandits were killed by you. Plus 2500 Ryo, plus 2187 XP. 20 wooden arrows, 2 iron katana, 2 U-bow, and iron spear were looted and kept in the inventory. You've advanced 1 level. On the other side of the camp, I formed the seals once more and let out another fireball, resolutely ignoring the terrified cries. Crucial sneak attack. You were proficient in 4 Darkwood bandits. Plus 2000 Ryo, plus 1750 express. The inventory contains 2 iron katana, and 2 iron spear, that have been looted. The missing ninja we saw earlier charged at me, and before I could do it again, My Sharingan warned me of swift projectiles. I leapt from my perch, 5 shuriken barely missing my head and even severing a few stray hairs. It was odd because I could tell he was stronger than me, but I couldn't tell how much stronger. It seemed like he was just slow enough for me to accurately predict his movements. I take a chance and roll behind him after dodging one of his blows. Observe, was what I said in the lowest voice I could. Name: Hayami Tsukiyama. Level: 19 Express. 9903 10,500. 24 years old, male, gender, title: Missing Ninja. Plus 25% gains in reputation with criminal elements. Minus 25% gains in reputation with lawful elements. Data: 2076 hydrogen phosphide CP 373 STR52 in 21 Dex 38. VIT 38 WIS 13 Luck. 10. Advantages: Cruel. Plus 25% effectiveness to torture skills. Minus 100% to reputation gains. Proficiency in Taijutsu. Plus 2 STR. Plus 1 VIT per level. Plus 50% XP growth. A traitor has a bounty on their head and loses all reputational gains among devoted shinobi. Fuck. Built like a fucking brick and 10 levels higher, I can't allow this man to hit me. With a quick thought, I created the seals for Chakra Scalpel to activate it on my offhand before using my primary to draw out my Kodachi and channel my chakra into the metal that was receptive to it. As it accepted the chakra, a hazy blue aura surrounded it. He eyed my now glowy sword warily during the brief pause in combat, giving me a chance to examine him. He was easily 7 feet 5 inches tall, still built like a brick made entirely of muscle, with dark blue hair cut close to his scalp and gray eyes that glared at me angrily from his square-looking face. He was wearing a dark green, rough-looking GI-like uniform, with a white belt holding the top closed, and a pair of arm and shin guards for defensive purposes. You've invented a new method, active, level 1 to 0.00%, plus 25 damage, 20 carbon monophosphide, second, chakra flow. I swung my chakra-infused Kodachi at him, ignoring the box, and he caught the blade on one of his arm guards. I whipped my left hand around and ran the chakra scalpel along the arm he used to block my sword, then kicked him in the chest to launch myself back as he screamed in agony, blood streaming from the wound my chakra scalpel made in his arm, his hand now hanging limply as he clutched the wound. I caught a glimpse of his updated status on the screen. Name: Hayami Tsukiyama. Level: 19 Express. 9903 10,500. 24 years old, male, gender, title: Missing Ninja. Plus 25% gains in reputation with criminal elements. Minus 25% gains in reputation with lawful elements. Condition: immobile left hand, bleeding, medium. Minus 50 hydrogen phosphide per second. That's useful, then. Uchiha bitch, screw you. Oh right, I'm in a fight to the death. Tsukiyama yelled angrily as he punched my head with his uninjured arm. I quickly sprang forward to slash at him once more, avoiding his fist and letting it barely pass my head. But rather than striking him with my sword, his knee drilled me in the gut. Fortunately, my mask stopped the spittle from flying out of my mouth before the blow sent me flying back into a tree. 311 529 HP. I can understand why it felt like a girder slamming into my stomach. More than 200 points of damage. As I forced my body to move out of the way of his follow-up attack, I coughed and took a deep breath. His kick splintered the tree I had collided with, removing enough of it that the entire tree fell. Mother of fuck, you are so sweet. Fucking little cunt, I am going to enjoy gouging those eyes out of your skull and selling them. Tsukiyama growled angrily at me, implying that my fear was evident in my eyes as he stalked towards me while chuckling darkly. I grabbed a handful of shuriken with my free hand and threw them at the man before charging at him instead of saying anything. Chakra Scalpel is now 1 level higher. Chakra Flow is now 1 level higher. He swung forward to meet my charge with ease, his eyes glimmering crazily as he kicked me again. Using the Sharingan to predict the movement, I leapt to the side, dropping my Kodachi and Chakra Scalpel to swiftly form the 5 seals required for the jutsu. I took a deep breath and let out a steady stream of fire, moving faster than I thought I could. Fire release. Great fireball. His leg was still outstretched from the kick when the flames swept over the missing ninja, causing him to scream in agony before a white smoke appeared on the edges of my flames. When I saw it, my eyes widened, and I extinguished the flames before flinging myself forward, clipping the back of my head just enough to send me flying. HP: 256 529 God of Mercy, even a graze can cause harm. Fortunately, my Kodachi was within arm's reach when I rolled to my feet. I double-checked my chakra and renewed the chakra scalpel before picking up my Kodachi with chakra flow active. CP 841 950 seconds. Well, it appears that my tree walking and leaf balancing chakra exercises were effective in lowering the costs of the chakras. I tried to think of a plan while keeping a close watch on Tsukiyama as he growled angrily at me. He appeared to be bleeding steadily, and his rough, GI-like clothing had a few scorch marks from when I attempted to set him on fire. He then made eye contact with me. Although I haven't done much training with my Sharingana, in fact, I just woke it up. I was aware of its powers, including the ability to hypnotize illusions through direct eye contact. I wasn't trained for this yet, but as we both looked for a chance to attack, I concentrated by channeling chakra into my eyes and attempted to project a sense of haziness onto him. A few seconds later, a box was in front of me. You've picked up a new ability. Sharingan. Genjutsu, active, level 1, higher levels can put their target into a hypnotic state, while lower levels can only create small illusions. You have advanced one level in Sharingan, Genjutsu. My opponent only needed my moment of distraction to launch a powerful blow at me, which I was able to block, and despite my delayed reaction, his blow missed me by a wide margin. My suspicion was confirmed by a recent addition to his status. Name: Hayami Tsukiyama. Level 19 Express, 9903 10,500. 24 years old, male. Gender. Title: Missing Ninja. Plus 25% gains in reputation with criminal elements, minus 25% gains in reputation with lawful elements. Status: left hand immobility, bleeding, medium, minus 50 hydrogen phosphide per second, and illusion, minor, 50% decrease in accuracy and dodging. I let out a breath, ducked another follow-up attack, and then swung my chakra-infused Kodachi at his side with a powerful slash, saving my life. Damn that. In response, he swiftly raised his leg and caught it on his shinguard, causing a deep cut to appear on the protective gear as my sword passed over it. Using my momentum, I spun around and dodged his kick from the leg he used to block my sword before severing one of his tendons by slamming my chakra scalpel against the thigh of his extended leg. Chakra scalpel is now one level higher. Heavy foot. Retaliatory strike has been copied by you. Sharingan stage 2 is now more advanced. He let out a roar of pain as my jutsu sliced open his leg, causing it to come down as he accidentally placed weight on it, knocking him over. I seized the chance and stabbed my sword into the shoulder of his good arm, effectively pinning him to the ground as it dug into the ground beneath him. A 4 feet even 7-year-old fresh out of the academy, straddling the chest of a who knows what rank missing ninja who was bleeding out beneath me must have looked like something out of David and Goliath. I couldn't see myself, but judging by the expression on his face as I loomed over him, it must have been a pretty gory sight as I realized I had some sort of warm liquid on my face, probably his blood, and glowing Sharingan eyes as I stared down at him without blinking. He was able to cough out, "Fucking a Uchiha bitch," as his HP rapidly decreased. "So you're not entirely incorrect, I'm just not a dog like you are, goodbye," I said icily, lifting my glowing hand to deliver the final blow. "Well, I am female, and a Uchiha." I slashed my hand across his neck before he could even speak, and I used the chakra scalpel to remove his head from his body with terrifying ease. Chakra scalpel is now one level higher. Chakra flow is now one level higher. Hayami Tsukiyama killed. Plus 12,500 in Express and plus 15,000 in Ryo, Bounty. Dense shin guards, heavy foot, taijutsu scroll, and 25 high-quality shuriken were looted and kept in stock. Panting, I formed the seals for Mystical Palm and began to heal my own wounds as fast as possible before turning to the burning camp and going in to locate and assist my team. Fucking hella, I chose this life. The first person I came across was Aoi-kun, a wide-eyed civilian boy who was avoiding a bandit's sword while his hands were covered in blood. He then lunged in and punched the bandit 3 times, once in the throat, once in the temple, and once in the back of the neck. The bandit fell to the ground without breaking any bones as 3 grotesque cracks could be heard. 3 strike. Single target has been copied by you. As I got closer, I called out, "Aoi-kun," quickly calling up his stats with a "observe." Note: has advanced 1 level. Aoi Nanase's name. Level 9. Express 2,500, 5,507 years old, male. Gender: Genin. Plus 25% XP until level 25, is the title. Data. 95 380ths hydrogen phosphide CP 150 338 STR20 int 26 dex 21. VIT 19 WIS 13 luck. 10 I swiftly went through the seals for mystical palm, and laid them onto his back, healing his damage. Here, let me heal you, I said to him. Yuriko-chan? As the healing chakra swept over him, he blinked in realization. What happened to you? I responded, ran into a missing nin, ignoring the blood that trickled from the ninja as I focused on tending to my friend. Where are Chika-chan and Sensei? The level of mystical palm has increased. Other side of the camp, Sensei encountered 2 more shinobi that weren't in sight when we were scouting the camp out. Aoi-kun replied with a trembling voice. Sensei sent me to support you after you didn't attack again like planned. Aoi-kun hesitated for a moment before following me. Probably in shock, I thought to myself before turning back ahead of me to watch where I was going. I nodded in understanding as I finished healing him. Come on, they may need our help, I told him as I started to move to where the 2 were fighting. The next one discovered was Chika-chan, the Yamanaka who was battling a group of 20 of them while surrounded by several bodies that all clearly showed signs of severe poisoning. The girl appeared completely worn out and could hardly stand. A quick observe informed me that her chakra was dangerously low and that she had the exhausted status on her. My friend was in trouble, so I quickly formed the seals for fire release. Great fireball, and leapt into the air. Then, as my momentum carried me over the men, I released a stream of continuous fire down onto them, causing several of them to scream in agony as they were caught in the flames. 7 Darkwood bandits were slain by you. Plus 3500 Ryo, plus 3059 XP. 5 Steel Spear, Iron Katanas, and Iron Spear were looted and kept in the inventory. You've advanced in level. Sharingan Stage 2 is now more advanced. The bandits were clearly unnerved by my fiery entrance and red glowing eyes, which met the eyes of one of them I trigger. Sharingan. Genjutsu. With a heavy image of fear behind it. I cut off the jutsu and flipped myself around to face them as I skidded across the ground. Monster. The man shouted in a panic. I had no idea what the man was seeing as he stared at me, but from the way blood fled from his face, it couldn't have been anything good as he stumbled back several steps. Get away from me. His friends started to panic as he dropped his weapon and ran out of the camp, with some of them following suit. The others were so engrossed in the panic that Aoi-kun and I were able to charge in and easily eliminate the remaining 5 bandits. Chika-chan sank to her knees and let me lay my glowing hands on her back as I started to heal her with mystical palm. Thank God you showed up, Yuriko-chan. Aoi-kun, she said, panting. I had no idea what I would have done if you hadn't shown up. The level of mystical palm has increased. I healed her to maximum health and then switched to relaxation to replenish her chakra reserves. Well, we did, and you're safe now, I responded. Where's Sensei? As Sensei hobbled over to us, a male voice grunted, Here, did you manage to defeat the missing ninja that pursued you? He examined us and asked me a question. In response, I nodded, completing the relaxation, before going on to Sensei to start healing his wounds using the knowledge I gained about him from using mystical palm. Instead of my observe, he's back there, I said, jerking my head back in the direction Aoi-kun and I had come from. Is that all of them? Yeah, it is, Sensei said with a sigh of relief, nodding as he allowed me to heal his body. Well, I guess congratulations are in order. You just completed a high-level B-ranked mission. It was supposed to be a C rank, but it looks like the information was off. Pardon me if I don't begin cheering now, Chika-chan growled slightly as she took deep breaths. As he smiled and said, You all did a fine job, Sensei asked how everyone was doing with their first kills. I gritted my teeth and resisted the urge to throw up, saying, I'm not thinking about it right now, but once I'm done healing you, I'm going to be losing my lunch. Is that how it always is? Aoi-kun asked in a faltering tone. Unfortunately, it will get easier, Sensei said in a stern tone. But, what you need to do is remember that you are killing people. Too many get lost in the act of killing, and if you let it, it will eventually break you. The 3 of us listened to Sensei as he related his own first kill and reassured us that we wouldn't turn into monsters as long as we remembered why we killed Ada to protect our home, friends, and comrades. Eventually, we were all healed, and I emptied my stomach of anything that was still inside. We then collected what we could from the camp and returned to Konoha. We were bloodied, bruised, and haunted, but we were now a family and a team. With the four of us arranged in front of him at a parade rest as we presented him with our mission report, Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed and closed his eyes while massaging the bridge of his nose. Yes, this would have definitely qualified as a B-ranked mission and not a C-ranked one, he said. It's unfortunate that you couldn't apprehend any of them to find out who was aiding them, but the threat has been eliminated. You all did a fantastic job finishing the mission, thank you. Quest finished. Killed all 3 of the shinobi who were assisting the Darkwood bandits. Reward plus 10,000 Ryo, 1500 rep with plus 4500 XP, plus 500 rep with Konohagakure and Hai no Kuni. Bonus goal: kill 10 bandits on your own. Discover who is aiding the bandits, partially. Achieve success on your team without suffering a defeat. Reward plus 20,000 Ryo and plus 3,000 XP. Secret goal. Killed Hayami Tsukiyama. Reward plus 7,500 Ryo, plus 5,000 XP, and plus 500 rep with Konohagakure. You've advanced 1 level. You've advanced 1 level. I wasn't entirely sure what 60 grand meant in this context, but hey, it's a big sum, so it must mean something. Well, damn, 4 levels on a single mission and freaking 60 grand earned. We said our goodbyes and left for home after the Hokage dismissed us and informed us that we would be meeting up for another mission the day after tomorrow and that we would be doing some training tomorrow. As I entered, the district guards welcomed me and we struck up a conversation about my week-long mission. Before I started my journey home, they informed me that the rest of my family had not yet returned from their separate missions. I used to live alone in my previous life, but the silence that greeted me as I entered the silent house was even more pronounced than I was used to, perhaps because I had grown so accustomed to having at least my mother around, or perhaps because of the ongoing war, but the silence was oppressive as I entered the kitchen and just stared at the table for a number of long minutes. I didn't realize I had a inventory system until I killed my first enemy, but I chose to focus on something else after waking up from my daze. Inventory, I declared to the quiet household as a screen appeared, displaying the loot I had collected during the mission. I blinked as, with a puff of white smoke, one of the marks for a iron katana materialized in my hand, ready for use. Observe, iron katana is a basic iron katana that is widely available and made of inexpensive iron. It has plus 1/5 slashing damage and 75 1/100ths durability. Status, I had stat points to assign, so I pressed the sword against the screen, making it disappear in a plume of smoke, and then I closed the screen completely. Well, I guess I could sell them, or if I managed to learn how to blacksmith, I could melt them down for materials. I carefully considered my options before raising my selected stats because I only had 20 stat points to work with. Data HP 625 CP 1700 STR 25, 27, Int. 40 Dex 34, 37. VIT 25 Wis 40 Luck. 15 My stomach growling. I turned to the kitchen proper and started preparing a meal for myself after reviewing the stat changes once more and nodding in satisfaction before shutting the screen. Ground 8 for Training Express gained in this zone was plus 50%. It appears that none of us slept well last night because I was the last to get to the training ground the following day. As I looked over my 2 teammates, I noticed the same bags under their eyes that I knew were under mine. Alright, now that Yuriko is here, we can start with the training, Sensei said before I stopped to talk to his arrival. The mission gave me a good idea on what we're working with for your skills, but I also want to know if there was anything else you wished to develop. Well, they're more effective for delivering my poisons, Chika-chan explained, lifting her hand slightly. I was hoping to work on senbon throwing. I guess I wanted to learn some genjutsu. I realized I'm kind of exposed when I'm trying to close the gap with my opponents, shrugged Aoi-kun. After considering my options and remembering the one benefit I hadn't yet utilized, Sensei turned to face me and raised an eyebrow. I think I'd like to learn Fuinjutsu, I finally confessed. I just think it would be a good support skill along with Iryojutsu. Alright then, I think I can help you with all of that, Sensei said, nodding in comprehension. He took 3 items out of his pouch. A package of senbon, a scroll on genjutsu, and a scroll on Fuinjutsu. Now, the scrolls are only theory for the moment. I want you to study them and I will quiz you while we're on the road for tomorrow, he explained as Aoi-kun and I accepted the scrolls. And Chika-chan took the senbon. Chika, I will be showing you the proper form for throwing the senbon. After that, we began our training. Aoi-kun learned a few minor genjutsus. Chika-chan got herself up to 65 1/100ths with her senbon during the trip, and I learned how to make storage seals on my own. Our next mission was less exciting than our first one, which involved escorting a minor merchant to a town a few towns away with only 2 encounters with bandits. After the merchant was safely in his new location and Sensei received the payment, we headed back without running into anything. We passed a group of Jonin who were heading to the front lines, and we spoke briefly before parting ways. After a month or so, we settled into a routine where we would go on a C rank or low-risk B rank, train for a while to hone our skills, and then go on another mission. As time went on, the nightmares from our first kills subsided as we became accustomed to the fact that we were getting blood on our hands, always keeping in mind that we were doing it to protect our friends and our home. The three of us genin were supposed to be training today, but Sensei was nowhere to be seen until the end of our regular training period, when he appeared with a serious expression on his face. "We're being deployed to the front line," he said in a voice that sounded exhausted. "Wrap up your training." We looked at our Sensei in shock and all three of us froze in reaction. "What?" Aoi-kun asked in disbelief, his body trembling slightly as he gazed at Sensei. "I can't say much, but an operation is coming up and they need every able body to participate. We're being sent because of our performance this past month," Sensei said. "Be at the gate by 0500 tomorrow morning, and be sure you bring enough for at least 3-month deployment." After exchanging anxious glances, the three of us nodded to Sensei in comprehension. Aoi-kun muttered, "The front Lanessa, I heard some bad things about them," as we made our way to the Shinobi Market District to restock. I muttered, "It is," confirming the haunted expressions on my family's faces during the few times we were able to get together. "But we will survive, we just need to watch each other's backs like always." I made an effort to give my friends a supportive smile, but they could tell it was forced. "Yeah, we will," Shika-chan declared, sounding much more assured than I did. "And we'll celebrate when we return, okay?" Aoi-kun concurred, "Why yeah, that sounds good," and I nodded in agreement with the notion. "All right, let's grab our equipment," Shika-chan yelled as she dashed in the direction of our first shop. Yuriko and Squad 8 were sent to a forward operating base that was a perfect example of a wartime base. Blood and mud were all over the walls and floor, several of the fortifications were severely damaged, and despite all of this, the Konoha shinobi and the daimyo's samurai moved through the base with grim determination. We came to rest in front of a middle-aged man who was looking down at a table that was dominated by a map. "Squad 8 reporting as ordered, Goryu Taicho," Sensei said. "Welcome to Fob Hachi," Goryu Taicho said, nodding and glancing at us with a slight frown. "I apologize, but I knew we were getting genin, but them?" Even though I knew intellectually that he had every reason to be worried, I couldn't help but frown when I saw him dismissed in that way. "They are young, yes, but they have already proven themselves and bloodied their hands," Sensei said calmly. Later, I noticed that Goryu Taicho had bags around his dark blue eyes. "Best I could hope for in this situation, I suppose," he sighed, rubbing his face. "All right, let's get started. You're here to participate in our counteroffensive against the Iwas and Kumo forces across the no man's land and capture the Tensai Bridge. We do that and we control their primary point of ingress into Hai no Kuni." After a few seconds of careful examination of the map, Sensei nodded and asked, "What will be our role in the battle?" He raised an eyebrow in question. The commander responded with ease, "Your team will be part of the second attack wave. You will be attached to Meiji Company under John and Saiga." "All right, when does the assault start?" 5 hours from now, Horyu grumbled. "I'm sorry I can't give your team more time to rest, but we need to push the element of surprise while we still can, and they will notice the reinforcements sooner rather than later." "Understood, we'll be ready," Sensei said grimly before nodding toward us to let us know it was time to go. As we walked to one of the more remote parts of the base after our sensei left the command building, we maintained our professional silence. "All right. I wish I could say you all are ready for this. In all honesty, you aren't, not completely anyways," he said bluntly, and the three of us exchanged glances. As he opened 4 cups and gave one to each of us while keeping one to himself, Sensei sighed and said, "I shouldn't be doing this considering your ages. Buddha, as your sensei, I wanted to be able to share your first drink with you. Chances are high that one of us will die today, so," he said. "May each of you grow in splendid shinobi," he whispered softly to the three of us, "and while we may march towards death, we shall not be afraid, for we are family and we march side by side as one." He held out his cup to us, and we reluctantly returned the gesture. We all spoke up after recognizing the cue. "Family," we all said, and then our cups clattered together. We then took our sensei's lead and drank the alcohol. And immediately start coughing because our throats were burning. In a warm smile, Sensei said, "And that's the non-alcoholic version too," laughing. This was a perfect example of Sensei. Although he was stern and intimidating, he was also a kind man who cared about our welfare. He took care of us when we were hurt, made sure China-chan and I were okay while our family was away on the front lines, and taught Ali-kun those small skills that only shinobi families can learn. He taught us how to be shinobi, showed us what it meant to live for the village, and showed us small things like common plants that made great spices and small pranks to play on your comrades to relieve tension. He was our sensei, and even though we all had fathers, he was also our father. My sensei might pass away today, it finally dawned on me. When I realized that this was not a case of missing ninjas or bandits, but rather of a well-prepared and organized army, my heart began to race. Sensei was only the beginning. Chika-chan and Aoi-kun had an even higher chance of losing the battle. As I looked up at my sensei's knowing expression, a hand on my head stopped my rapidly approaching panic attack in its tracks. "You Uchiha always hide it well, but your eyes are always the windows to your souls," he said, smirking slightly. "Yes, we may die, Buddha, even if we do, we continue to live on in the memories of the people we leave behind," he said, resting his hand in my hair to calm my thoughts. "Better?" I took a deep, soothing breath and then nodded in agreement, whispering, "Yeah, I'm ready." "Good," he said, carefully examining each of us before nodding. "All right, let's get together with the rest of our group." Warning. Primary quest. The Tensai Bridge Battle. Goal for Konohagakure. Take control of the Iwagakure base across the bridge. Reward 15,000 experience points, 20,000 Ryo, and 5,000 reputation points with Konohagakure and allies. Bonus goal: take the base while sustaining losses for Konohagakure and his allies of less than 40%. Personally treat 250 soldiers your group makes it through. REWADS 10,000 Ryo and 10,000 Express are awarded for each completed objective. I can't refuse this quest. Following our meeting with the company commander, we were paired with our team's medics, who served as guards on the actual battlefield in addition to my Iryojutsu. As we discussed my level of experience with medical procedures, the medical squad leader remarked, "I have to say, Uchiha-san, with your current level of skills I would say you would be ready to pass the Trade 3 medical exams with minor difficulty. I never learned mystical palm until I was a chunin at least," he said. As we conversed, a tiny smile of pride appeared on my face. I understand the fundamentals of being a medic in general, but what about the various grades? My mother had been more concerned with bringing my chakra control down to a more manageable level than she had been with elucidating the distinctions between medical levels, I asked inquisitively. As she spoke, Saya Michiru brushed her stringy brown hair out of her face and explained, "Well, third-grade medical ninja are the very basics. It means they know how to deal with minor training injuries, but not much outside of that. If you were to leave the shinobi corps you would be able to get a job as a nurse with it without having to go for schooling. Second grade are the most common and are battlefield medics. They know how to triage and stabilize grievously injured people, and they would be embraced in rewards if they were to leave the shinobi corps. Lastly, the first graders are the full-time specialists and surgeons. If they left without any problems, they could start their own hospital." "That makes sense," I said after a moment, nodding in comprehension of the explanation. "I think I'll go for the third-grade examination when things settle down. If you want, I can issue a letter of recommendation that you skip to the second-grade test if you perform well during your deployment," she said with a small grin. "I can guarantee you, by the end of your deployment here, you will have the experience needed for it." But the operation had already started when the squadron commander called out to us before I could react. Here, after the first wave departed, there was silence in the base while we all waited with bated breath, and we could hear the distant sounds of combat. In movies, these kinds of moments were always filled with heroic speeches and shouts of defiance or something. The second wave. Goryo Taicho gave us the order to charge forward with a loud shout. Even though I firmly believed that my Sharingan, Stage 2, should not be relied upon, I activated it as we charged forward because I knew that I needed every advantage I could get to survive the impending battle. We were struck first by the screams, then by the sounds of metal crashing and lightning crackling. "Medic!" As the medical squad's captain raised their hand to indicate that they were changing their course to where a group of Takigakure ninja were guarding a group of downed shinobi, a voice yelled out. "Squads 2, 3, and 4, the captain called out to our small company, keep going. Triage only so the support teams can pull the injured out." She must have had command of this group previously because the team divided into separate squads without a word of question, with a medic assigned to each squad. "Uchiha-san, please assist me," she said. "I get it." The medical captain stepped up to the man who appeared to be more blood and flesh before she started healing him. My team joined the Taki ninjas in the perimeter as I swiftly scanned the injured and went to one who had a deep cut on his leg. On my end, The injured being directed to me were fairly well off and primarily needed the bleeding stopped before they were safe to be brought back to base or good enough to get back to fighting. I worked steadily as more injured were brought to us in an endless stream of bodies. Saya Taicho working without pause as she continues to heal the more severely wounded shinobi and samurai, occasionally taking a single look at a man and shaking her head in a negative, indicating he couldn't be saved. As I worked, I couldn't keep track of how many pop-ups I received indicating that I had advanced in mystical palm, but I could see the change as wounds got easier to heal. An hour into the fight, a Kuni shinobi, his body glimmering with electricity, broke through the defensive line for our triage area and charged at Saya Taicho, who was occupied with saving a man. Without hesitation, I leapt to intercept him, my hands rapidly forming the seals for the chakra scalpel jutsu as I managed to slap my hand on one of his legs, severing his tendon and causing him to pitch forward onto the ground as his injured leg gave out on him. Before he could flip him onto his back or do anything else, I was on him, pressing my chakra-infused hand into his neck, severing the arteries on either side of his neck, then placing my hand against his chest, over his heart, and using the chakra scalpel to destroy it. A brief notification alerting me to his death appeared. Saya Taicho spared me a look, nodding to me before turning back to the man she was working on. I followed suit, and some of the soldiers around me gaped in shock at the idea that a 7-year-old, 4-foot-even child had just defeated an adult man in a matter of seconds. The only reason I was able to remove the man was because he was so preoccupied with finding a better healer. If he had chosen to pursue me instead, I would have been sweating and feeling terrified. I dismissed those thoughts, returned my attention to my patient, and continued working. The third wave arrived shortly after, and as Saya Taicho and I were receiving chakra replenishment from the support shinobi in the third wave, I realized, somewhat belatedly, that it had only been an hour since we had left the base. After being topped off, we started to approach the front lines, where we were repeatedly attacked by a few enemy shinobi who had managed to get in and try to eliminate the fighters' rear support. The medical captain demonstrated that she didn't wear the Jonin flak vest for show by swiftly defeating her opponent in 2 moves before helping me fight a Chunin. I couldn't help but stare at the humble medic, who gave me a quirky smile. 2 managed to get through to Saya Taicho and me. Not all medics need the super strength of Tsunade-sama, she said. Most of us actually use a variant of the Hyuga Gentle Fist that uses chakra scalpels instead of targeting Tenketsu. It's not like we don't know where our opponent's vital organs are without the Byakugan. Fucking idiots, and shinobi voluntarily attempt to fuck Konoha medical ninja, holy fuck. This time, we didn't set up a triage area when we arrived at the battlefield. Instead, we were fighting against foreign shinobi, and I was employing my tried and true fighting technique, which involves holding my kodachi with chakra flow, active in one hand and chakra scalpel in the other. When I showed Hisai-sensei how I had fought Tsukiyama, he told me he couldn't recall anyone combining the 2 fighting styles in that way, so I knew it was a style that was all mine. Taking that into account, he did everything he could to help me improve it, including helping me create the fire release chakra flow to increase the effectiveness of my style and using it without the chakra scalpel active. As I fought, I ignored all of the pop-ups that appeared in front of me, informing me of my leveling skills, my actual level increasing, taijutsu, and ninjutsu. The shinobi were focused on my burning kodachi, not realizing the chakra scalpel, until it was too late and my hand was pressed against them, either hitting their vital spots to kill them or disabling them enough to kill them easily. I turned some of the jutsus I learned on the people I stole it from, so it's no wonder Kakashi did that. It was entertaining to see their shocked expressions when it happened. However, Saya Taicho's fighting style and the notification I received from watching it with my Sharingan caught my attention. Whatever it was, I couldn't copy it entirely. A screen appeared saying that in order to copy, I needed to have intermediate gentle fist and intermediate Iryojutsu, a holy fucka, gentle fist, chakra scalpel. The way she fought was fucking terrifying. Whenever she even slightly hurt someone, they would fall to the ground and cough up blood, and if she tapped their heads, they would fall as if their strings were severed, with blood seeping from all the holes. Alright, so if this were my old world, chakra scalpel would most likely be completely prohibited from use. However, I'm shocked that more people weren't using it. Observe, I hardly spoke as I glanced at the medical captain, shifting my focus away from him and directing my own efforts toward the enemy while avoiding the swipe of a tanto wielded by what appeared to be a Kumo Chunin. Shiki Ihara is her name. Level 22 and 556 12,000 EXP. 18 years old, male, gender, title Chunin, plus 25% gains in reputation. Data 1540 hydrogen phosphide CP 724 STR45 in 26 Dex 64. VIT 32 WIS 24 Luck. 20 benefits expert knife fighter. Plus 50% efficacy with weapons of the knife type. Expert in chakra flow. Plus 50% efficacy using chakra flow methods. Plus 2 dex per level for agile well, that would account for the electricity surrounding the tanto he was brandishing as he lunged toward me once more. I was mentally grateful that I had chosen to be reborn as a Uchiha because I wasn't sure how I would have made it through this battle without the Sharingan's predictive powers. My face was numb from all of the near misses with the edge of the lightning-charged blade, and even that wasn't enough. 400 HP status. Numbed, right arm. Chakra flow disrupted, minus 50% effectiveness when using your right arm. Fucking hell, the only thing that has him on edge at the moment is the chakra that surrounds my left hand. He had clearly witnessed what I had done to his allies and knew full well what I could do with it. I swept my more responsive left hand low and lunged at him, panting, clumsily swinging my kodachi in an attempt to blow out one of his kneecaps. However, he simply leaned out of my sword's path and swung his knife down for my good arm. This was a bad situation because, unlike Tsukiyama, this guy was smart enough to charge forward without giving me any space, staying close to me as we continued our deadly dance against one another. I didn't want to risk it, so I pulled my hand away before he could remove it and leapt back to gain some distance. My chakra flow was totally disrupted, and the chakra scalpel cut out after he scored 2 more hits, numbing my left leg and chest and bringing my health down to less than 100 points. I glared at the apathetic Chunin with a growl, and I must say that he handled the situation quite professionally and no taunts or insults, just a quiet resolve to kill me, even though I must admit that I didn't enjoy that aspect. As he continued his relentless pursuit, I gasped and tried to stay out of his reach. Our allies were preoccupied with their own conflicts, and I barely escaped death. It only took one misstep with my numb leg to end I was going to die. Although I was stronger than when I fought and defeated Tsukiyama, who was close to Shiki's level, I was nowhere near as experienced as my opponent, and that had made all the difference as he methodically dodged my inexperienced strikes and wore me down. The Sharingan that had kept me alive up until that point was useless as I lay prone on the ground with Shikihara standing above me with his tanto ready in his hand. He knelt on my chest, and I was gasping for air because my arms couldn't muster the strength to push him away from me and his weight kept my lungs from filling up. I saw my mother's face when he lifted his knife, laughing at a joke my father had told her. As I reached our training ground, I noticed my team smiling at me, and time seemed to slow down as the knife lowered. Just as the knife was ready to pierce my chest and reach my heart, it and Shiki vanished. What? I turned to see a familiar figure standing over me, Shiki falling back, blood gushing from his mouth, and I heard a primal scream of rage. "Keep the fuck away from my sister," my brother sternly declared to the world as he stood over me, unarmed but menacing, wearing a plain blue shirt with a big Uchiha fan on the back and black shinobi pants taped around the ankles. As I looked at him, I realized that he was so sure that they couldn't even touch him that he wasn't wearing any armor or flak vest. When I saw his eyes, which were the distinctive red and black of the Sharingan, my breath caught in my throat. However, instead of the 3 comma-like shapes that circled the pupil, there was a solid black, 4-pointed shuriken shape with a red iris in the middle. My brother had the Mangekyu Sharingan, holy fuck. Resuming his stance and eyeing my brother warily, Shiki coughed up some blood. Seeing their ally's predicament, 2 more Kumo Chunin joined Shiki in battling Sakari, who appeared completely unconcerned with their presence. I gasped, "Ni-san," as I fought to sit up and attempted to assist him. He gave me a quick look and a smile, saying, "It's okay, squirt. Heal yourself up, I'll be finished here in a moment." Credit where credit is due. The Kumo shinobi merely surrounded my brother as he approached them with a leisurely gait, without responding to his statement in any noticeable way. As they charged in to attack my brother with their preferred weaponry, the Kumo Chunin moved one, while the other 2 slashed at him with their own kodachi. Knowing exactly where each strike would be and how to avoid them all with the same slow stride, Sakari avoided them all with frightening ease. He struck suddenly, and I would have missed it entirely if I hadn't had my own Sharingan active. He slammed his fist into one of the newcomer's solar plexus before blocking Shiki's retaliatory blow. As the third finished a series of seals, a sudden surge of chakra was observed. Light release. White burning flare, cannot be copied, light release Kekkei Genkei, is required. I started to yell a warning to my brother, but it was too late because a flash of light appeared across the distance in an instant, but my brother had somehow vanished. He killed the light release user by slamming a kunai into his head while standing behind him, blood gushing from his left eye. What the devil did my brother just do? Hold on a second. The two Kumo shinobi moved swiftly, clearly as perplexed as I was by what had transpired, but they forced themselves to attack in order to deny him any opening. However, once more, my brother was simply absent. I saw no sign of movement. One moment he was there, the next he was behind the two finishing a set of seals. Fire release. Dragon flame release song. Cannot be copied. Fire nature manipulation, level 50, is needed. I could understand why it would take so much. When he unleashed the technique, a number of fireballs shaped like dragon heads erupted from his mouth, instantly devouring the two Kumo shinobi. Before they could even scream, they were reduced to ash. I stared at my brother, numbly saying, "Holy Shida. You don't want your mother to hear you talk like that, do you? Language, squirt?" He laughed as he asked the question. As he wiped the blood from his eye, his Mangekyo Sharingan transformed back into the typical three-toed Sharingan, and I could only watch in wonder. I quickly raised my hand, glowing with healing chakra, and said, "Wait, let me see that," but he stopped me with a soft head shake. "The more we use the Mangekyo Sharingan's power, the more we lose our sight. It's no use, Yuriko-chan," he said softly as he pushed my hands down. "All power has a cost." I was already aware of this, but I was still not supposed to blink multiple times. "Issa, is that how you got behind them?" I asked as a number of things suddenly made sense. "Kashinta," Sakari said simply, nodding, and then patted my head, saying, "Come on, we're still in a battle." I blinked stupidly in response, then nodded and stood up, taking back my kodachi. "Let's go," I said, then followed my brother to rejoin my company. There were no wasted movements as he moved between the shinobi between us and the rest of my company, and no one even touched him, not even without using his Mangekyo Sharingan's Kashinta ability, whatever that did. Fighting by my brother made me realize how far I had to go if I truly wanted to change the world. Even though life seemed like a game, people die when their hearts explode, so she made sure to take full advantage of their distracted states by running around in the confusion caused by her brother's presence with her fire release, chakra flow, and chakra scalpel active. Even so, it was strange. I was seeing even more clearly than I had since my near-death experience, and aside from a few chosen individuals who were employing special jutsu, I could easily follow every move they made as I retaliated against any attacks. Stage 3, Sharingan, has advanced in level. Oh, that would explain it quite nicely. It seems that my Sharingan's growth was accelerated by that encounter with death. I saw a samurai, dressed in the Kaminari no Kuni daimyo's colors, charge at me with his sword raised. Sincerely, I thought to myself, good thing these aren't the Tetsu no Kuni samurai, as I ducked past him, hitting him 3 times with my chakra scalpel, to destroy his heart and lungs before moving on to a chunin who was getting ready to use a jutsu. Lightning release. Thunderclap arrow, has been copied by you. Quickly flashing, I imitated his hand signals, slowing him down with Sharingan Genjutsu, before revealing his own move. Lightning release. Thunderclap arrow. I launched the lightning jutsu in the shape of an arrow, striking the chunin's chest with such force that his eyes widened in surprise as he gazed at me. I took advantage of the situation and drew closer before slashing his neck with my blazing kodachi and setting his body on fire. Yuriko-chan. When she saw my brother and I making our way over to them, Chika-chan yelled, "We thought we had lost you." I quickly responded, Kumo Chunin, grabbing a kunai with my chakra scalpel, powered hand and throwing it at an Iwa ninja, idly observing how deeply the kunai sliced the man. "Ni-san helped me out. Ni-san, meet my team, meet Ni-san," I said. "Good to have you with us, Sasaki-san," he said respectfully as we swiftly arranged ourselves in a loose formation around me while I started tending to their minor wounds. "Are you good to be here?" Sakari smiled casually and said, "Hasai-san, you remember the combo we used at Shioran Pass? I was assigned to support this area." Wind release. Great hurricane breakthrough, snorted Hasai-sensei as he started to shape chakra. "How could I forget?" he asked, flashing through a series of seals before slamming his hands together as a leaf ninja nearby threw up a signal flare for temporary retreat. Wind release. Great hurricane breakthrough, cannot be copied. Wind nature manipulation, level 75, is needed. My brother completed his seals next to him. Fire release. Great flame annihilation. Fire release. Great flame annihilation, cannot be copied. Fire nature manipulation, level 75, is needed. I wouldn't be shocked if the combined strength of the two B-rank ninjutsus equaled the power of the S-rank ninjutsus in the show. What followed could only be described as hellfire. Even as I quickly started applying relaxation to my brother and Hisai-sensei, the enemy lines fell apart pretty quickly. Wow, that was something, said Aoi-kun, looking completely stunned by the destruction. Despite the chakra ceasing its empowering effects, the flames continued to rage in the field, and the approaching allied forces avoided it completely as a group of tacky ninjas started using water release techniques to put out the flames. Sakari Ni grinned and said, "That is what happens when you work as a team." "Come, we still have a base to secure," said Hisai-sensei, clapping my brother on the back with a little laugh. "No rest for those with wicked hearts, Sakari-san." Sakari ruffled my hair and snorted, which made me yell. "Yes, Hisai-san," he said, nodding as he moved forward, "I'll follow your lead here." As we reunited with the rest of our company, Hisai nodded. I was relieved to see that Saya Taicho was okay, even though she appeared to have blood splashed on her, and we started our journey to the enemy base. Even though we had successfully breached the Kumo-Iwa defensive line in the field, it was an extremely difficult task to try to capture their base, which was located on the other side of a very deep gorge that extended for miles and that we couldn't walk down without leaving ourselves vulnerable. For the time being, we celebrated our minor victory with a few back claps and smiles as we dug ourselves in across from the base, out of range of any attacks they could launch from safety within the base. The Yamanaka herself sighed with relief as we started taking out our rations, and I groaned with relief as I collapsed to the ground between my brother and Chika-chan. As the sun started to set, Hisai-sensei said, "You all did good today," and he slowly stoked a small fire to keep us warm. "Rest up, I'm afraid it won't be getting any easier from this point on." I started to lean into my brother, and the older Uchiha accepted it by putting a reassuring arm around my shoulder. The three of us nodded in agreement. As I whispered to him, "Thank you for showing up." He said, "Of course," as he gazed down at me with warm onyx eyes. "You're my precious little sister, I'll always be there to back you up." Enjoying the warmth of his body made me smile, and I couldn't help it. I asked bewilderedly, "That technique you said, how did you do it? I couldn't even track your movements." In response, my brother hummed a little and turned to face Hisai-sensei, who apparently received the message my brother had sent him and excused himself after turning to face Chika-chan and Aoi-kun, who were both now sound asleep. "Because technically, I'm not really moving, in the conventional sense anyways," he said after giving it some additional considered. "I'm teleporting within my visual range, which includes reflections." "Well, that's the power my left eye was granted. My right eye allows me to teleport others within my visual range." Damnit, that's a wowa. I couldn't help but look at my brother in amazement when he revealed the Mangekyo Sharingan's capabilities. There were so many goddamn uses for it. "I know, it was rather confusing when I first started using it, but I got the hang of it eventually," he said. "When I got the Mangekyo, I was given instinctual knowledge on what it can do, just not how to apply it to my way of fighting," he continued to shrug. "Nothing that training can't fix, so what about your power?" I took a moment to try to come up with something to say. I evoked my 5-year-old self and asked, "Do you remember that game we played together before you were promoted to Jonin?" I swallowed hard at his nod. "The RPG one where you could build your character how you wanted?" At last, I said. "Well, somehow I have powers like that. In fact," I said, invite Sakari Uchiha to party." After I said something out of the ordinary, my brother arched an eyebrow before a screen appeared in front of him. "You have been invited to Yuriko Uchiha's party. Agree? N." He remarked absently. "Thesa is not a genjutsu," as he reached up and hit the Y key to accept the invitation. "Now what?" I said, "Say status," and he did, blinking once more as a new window appeared. Sakari Uchiha's name 53rd level 13,587 28,500 Express. 21 years old, male, gender, title Elite Jonin. Plus 25% to all Ryo rewards for missions completed, plus 50% to all stats. Data HP 4825 carbon monophosphide, 17,200 STR75. 112. Int 125, 187. Dex 108, 162, VIT 63, 94. Wis 116, 174. Luck 20, 30. Ryo 12,986,631. Big Brother is loaded, holy SHT. He asked with astonished eyes. Wow, so you somehow have an ability that will allow you to basically quantify all of your stats into numbers? I finally began looking through the various pop-ups that came up during the battle. Thank God, they stack on top of each other and move to the very edge of my vision when I'm busy. Not just that, so long as I meet the requirements I can instantly learn a jutsu from a scroll, and I get things whenever I defeat someone, I replied. Each time I do something or beat someone, I gain experience, whether it's the technique I'm practicing or just simply doing push-ups, it all accumulates to something, whether it's a level up or a bonus stat point, my brother said, looking over and blinking as he suddenly realized there were several pop-ups in front of me. I'm pretty sure I was babbling at this point, but he patiently sat there and listened to me as I continued. Like today, with everything that happened, my power, auto-looted, 500 standard shuriken, 100 standard kunai, numerous other odds and end, 5 jutsu scrolls and about a 25,000 in Ryo. When he finally said, that is a terrifying ability, he did so, and what happens when you level up? Well, for techniques its effect increases, it's basically a milestone for my mastery over the jutsu, but in general, I grow stronger as I gain 5 points to put into any stat I want, along with a bonus stat to my Whis and Dex and plus 50 to my chakra pool because of my Uchiha heritage. My brother said, the potential for this ability is staggering, following a few seconds of silence. So, how much experience did you get today? Going through the various pop-ups, I muttered to myself, let's see 25 individuals defeated, 8 shinobi, 17 daimyo samurai, as I added up the entire experience. 20,625 express altogether, or a 3 level ups. Status. Yuriko's name level, 16 and 1952 9,000ths XP 7 years old. Gender. Female genin, plus 25% XP until level 25, is the title. Data HP 625 CP 1700 STR 25, 27, int. 40 Dex 34, 37. VIT 25 Whis 40 Luck, 15 Ryo, 102,652 15 stat points. I allowed my brother to keep an eye on me while I started entering my stat points and responding to his sporadic inquiries about some of the more trivial aspects of my gaming abilities. Yuriko's name level, 16 and 1952 9,000ths XP 7 years old. Gender. Female genin, plus 25% XP until level 25, is the title. Data HP 900 carbon monophosphide, 1902 STR 30, 33, int. 43. Dex 34, 37, VIT 30 Whis 42 Luck, 15 Ryo, 102,652. He examined my stats and asked, so, you're looking at increasing your max chakra pool then as a priority? I tried to defend my decisions while feeling my cheeks heat up. Yeah, well, as a medic I need every bit of chakra I can get, especially since I'm using jutsus like chakra scalpel and fire release. Chakra flow, I said. I'm trying to not let my STR and VIT fall behind, and I do extra physical training in them for bonus points. My brother gave me a nod of approval. A good decision, he nodded and congratulated me. I can understand why you kept this hidden. If it had gotten out, there would definitely be a lot of contention over your power, so we will help you keep it a secret. My eyes drooped, and I relaxed deeper into him, letting out a little sigh of relief. I replied in a whisper, thank you, and received a pat on the back and a laugh in return. He told me, Squirt, get some sleep, I'll keep watch. As I sank deeper into him and fell into a deep, dreamless sleep, I tried to say something, anything to him, but all that came out of my mouth was an incomprehensible murmur. 3 days later, we attempted to take the base for the first time, but it was a questioning attack to test the defenses and left 6 people dead and 12 wounded. In exchange, we discovered that they had archers in the 2 tower-like structures on either side of the base's gate, along with a number of ninjutsu experts on the walls and a strong barrier seal guarding the gate. Fortunately, reinforcements showed up the following day with new troops, supplies, and Orochimaru-sama, hey, give the man who can kill you a little respect with a thought, man. As he strode up to the command tent, which had been set up with many of the high-ranking shinobi present, including my brother, who cheerfully greeted the snake Sanin, who politely returned the greeting, I couldn't help but stare at the man who would turn into a monster. On the one hand, I was afraid that I might catch his attention because some of Orochimaru-sama's experiments were really horrible, but on the other hand, he would be using his strength to save many lives in the impending conflict. Orochimaru-sama asked, so what does it look like with the base? As I was able to listen in on their conversation. Rough, archers in the towers aren't so bad, but they got some kind of chakra-draining seal protecting them. Any ninjutsu we send at them gets drained and explosive seals refuse to activate, Goryo Taicho said with a deep S. The gate itself is protected by some kind of powerful barrier seal or ninjutsu, and we can't send a breaker at it because they have ninjutsu specialists on the walls. Orochimaru-sama scowled and gazed at the map. That is troubling, he said. His appearance in a typical Jonin uniform, devoid of that dumb butt bow, caught my attention. I wonder what your sister has to suggest, Sakari-san. Even though there were no silencing seals in place and one of the tent walls was missing to allow people to filter out, I let out an involuntary eep when I was outed. I said tremblingly, sorry Orochimaru-sama, as I emerged from behind the tent wall, my face flushed. I nodded in response to Snake Sanin's kind question. Quite all right. Yuriko-chan, was it? Damn, I had no idea he was capable of that. Tell me, with what you know of our collected abilities, how would you suggest we attack the base? My brother and a few of the Jonin suppressed a laugh as Goryo Taicho stared at Orochimaru-sama as if he were insania, which he was, but not the kind of insane he was envisioning. I searched my mind for a response as I considered the skills I knew we possessed. My brother's Kashinta came to mind, but he would have proposed it sooner if he had any doubts about its potential. Suddenly, my mind jolted. I asked the Snake Sanin, you summon large snakes, right? And he nodded and smiled, indicating that I could continue. Well, the biggest problem is that this bridge is the only way across for miles, and those other points are days away and already under siege, and since this way is heavily defended, why not make our own way across away from them? Orochimaru-sama started, oh, and how would you suggest that but then stopped, his brow furrowing in contemplation. Wait, you suggest using my summons as an improvised bridge to get across the gorge? I replied with a nod. Not right beside the base of course, and not all of us, make it look like we're going to be just simply holding the line here, and send a large enough group a few hours away before crossing over a night, I said. That if your summons can do that it could work, Goryo Taicho uttered, his eyes wide with surprise. Children often think outside of the boxes we adults trap ourselves in, concluded the snake summoner, grinning. And yes, my summons are capable of such a task. As for the attack, I would like to request her to be a part of it. I blinked. Taicho Goryo blinked. Ni-san Sakari blinked. Orochimaru-sama wore a smile. Oh, that's amazing. Now that they had a team together and a route across the gorge, they quickly devised an attack plan. I was almost positive that the original Ino-Shika-Cho combination was among the 24 other elite Jonins, including Sakari Ni-san, my sensei, Orochimaru-sama, and Saya Taicho. Among them, I felt completely alienated. When I called out to the man who was walking directly in front of me, Orochimaru-sama, he turned to face me, grinned, and motioned for me to follow him. If I may ask, why did you request for me to come with you in the attack? I'm just a Janina. Simple, you have great potential, like your brother, the Snake Sanin said, pointing to my brother who was trading barbs with a Hyuga. Is that Hizashi? Ahead of us. And I believe this would be a great opportunity for you to gain valuable experience, he said, grinning indulgently down at me. It's funny how tall someone can seem when you're only a meager 4 feet 1. I hope not, Kami. I see, thank you for the opportunity, Orochimaru-sama, I said, bowing slightly to him, causing the snake summoner to laugh. Oh, does that mean he was going to try and kidnap me a couple of years down the road to put the curse seal on me? He responded to me by saying, I look forward to seeing what you are capable of, Yuriko-chan, before turning away when one of the Jonin called out to him. I forced myself not to shiver as I separated from the Snake Sanin and joined my brother, finding strength in his company. Crossing the gorge was relatively easy. In fact, our sensors didn't even pick up any scouts on the other side of the gorge as we ran across the back of one of Orochimaru-sama's snake summons as we started our quick approach to the base. Sakari Ni-san, myself, and the 2 Hyuga with us were the only ones actively using any chakra at all, with our dujutsu alert for any indication of an impending attack or awareness of our presence. As we made our last preparations, we stopped atop a cliff overlooking the base. Although many of us would have preferred to simply rain ninjutsu on them, our goal was to take the base in reasonably good shape so that we could use it as a base of operations for our incursions into Kumo's territory. I ran in with Saya Taicho and another elite Jonin named Izumi Saito, heading for our target, the closest archer tower, after Orochimaru-sama gave the order to attack. Our main goal was to disable the archers and open the gates. It was evident that the watchmen were aware of our approach as they started yelling their warnings and sounding the alarm, but it was already too late. We had climbed the walls and were now close to them. I saw Sakari Ni-san teleport himself onto the far side of the base, right in the middle of the terrified archers, and quickly dispatch them with a kunai. His face was expressionless as he went about his work. I was the first to enter our archer's nest, and the archer in front of me had wide eyes as I jumped in and shoved my kodachi into his throat, injecting the flames directly into his neck as I activated the fire release. Chakra flow. The rest of them fell quickly to Saya Taicho and Saito Senpai before I lit the tower on fire to signal our allies to start approaching. As I leapt from the tower, I saw Orochimaru-sama engaged in combat with 6 of what appeared to be elite Jonin. He was easily handling the men, tearing them apart with a flurry of kenjutsu techniques. 8-stroke beheading is what you have copied. When I looked up again, I saw Orochimaru-sama smiling broadly at me while he spat a glob of what at an enemy, blinding them. I blinked in response before using that exact skill I had copied from Orochimaru-sama on a panicking Mizu Chunin who fell under my attacks quickly. Oh, I wonder if he's noticed that I was able to replicate one of his methods. Please don't let that make me more attractive. The limit of intermediate kenjutsu has been reached. It is possible to progress from intermediate kenjutsu to advanced kenjutsu. Except, warning. You are committed to that swordsmanship path once you have chosen an advanced kenjutsu? I quickly hit the no button while blinking because I wanted to learn Uchiha sword style, not just any old kenjutsu where I just swung my sword around. A shout diverted my attention from the snake signing to my new opponent, a rather large-chested, red-haired, dark-skinned woman wearing a brief outfit consisting of an open short sleeveless red jacket that showed off the wrappings around her chest and a pair of short shorts as she charged at me. I could feel a smile slip onto my face as I continued to fight, managing to hold my own in the battle where elite Jonin were everywhere. To be honest, I was keeping myself occupied by removing the small fries for the Jonin on my side. I muttered, observe, as I ducked under her first kick as she bounded into the air. Nana Ijichi is her name. Level 32 Express, 8421 12,500. 27 years old. Gender female. Title Jonin, plus 50% of all gains in reputation. Data HP 800 carbon monophosphide, 5050 STR 28 int, 75 dex 60. VIT 25 WIS 66 Luck 19 Benefits Expert in Water Ninjutsu, plus 25% efficacy in water release ninjutsu. Expert in lightning kick taijutsu, plus 25% efficacy in the lightning kick style. Expert in lightning nature manipulation, plus 25% more effective at working with the lightning natured element. Fantastic, a Jonin. I leapt back to put some distance between us as I created one-handed seals for the chakra scalpel. It turns out that you can perform the seal one-handed with a 10% chance of failure once you reach level 50 with a jutsu. Given how frequently I've used it since I got it, it wasn't shocking that I hit 50 for it during the skirmish a few days ago. The bonus from Medic Nin definitely helped with that, huh? I just realized, am I running into all these strong guys because of that same perk? Now is the time to avoid the water dragon, so save your questions for later. Water release. Water dragon bullet, cannot be copied. Water nature manipulation, level 40, is needed. My flaming blade would be useless in this scenario if she were a water-natured ninjutsu user, so I cancelled fire release chakra flow and started chakra flow. Neutral chakra instead. Damn it, that's terrible. I love my flaming blade. Before slashing my hand out towards her thigh, I threw myself into a roll and managed to avoid another kick. I've seen what that nasty little hand of yours does to people, and I won't let you harm my beauty with such a dirty technique, the kunoichi sang as she danced out of my reach. Damn it, this is why the flaming sword works. People always pay attention to fire, but no, she had to be an expert in water ninjutsu. I growled and charged her, hoping to push her back, but she easily avoided every one of my blows, even when I used my Sharingan, Stage 3, predictive abilities. I could only do a bare graze with my kodachi, and she focused much more on the hand using chakra scalpel than my sword. I realized her leg was buried in my stomach as sparks of electricity arced off her, and the air abruptly left my lungs as my admittedly small lunch flew out of my mouth. That's why it's called lightning kick, and what the lightning nature manipulation specialist is for. As I coughed and tried to force air back into my lungs, my back struck the base's outer wall. 476 HP. I nearly lost half of my health in that attack, dear merciful Kamis. I hurried through mystical palms, seals and fought my way to my feet while I healed what I could. Shortly before a loud cracking sound could be heard behind me, I was forced to stop my efforts and move aside due to a TS King sound. This is why Irionen, you always try to repair the harm I cause you. It's really rude, I tell you. The kunoichi yelled in a pouting voice as she withdrew her leg from its hole in the wall. 646 HP. My eyes darted around for my kodachi, which had fallen out of my hand during my kick-induced flight lesson. Since I couldn't see it right now, I formed the seals for the chakra scalpel in both hands before assuming the opening stance of the Uchiha Interceptor fist. I'll show you, rude bitch, I panted. The woman glared at me, growling, and now that I knew it, I could see her chakra building up in her legs, ready for another blow. It was clear how much better she felt than me, a 7-year-old genin, so naturally, she wasn't going to take this seriously, and she charged straight at me, using the same move that had first defeated me. Internal bleeding was far more dangerous than external bleeding, so I swung out of the way this time, slapping my left hand into her abdomen and pulsing the scalpel into her. You little fucking cunt, Nana spat out angrily as she dragged herself to her feet, throwing a brace of shuriken to keep me back and prevent me from taking advantage of it. I threw my own brace at her to get her moving and accelerating the process of her internal bleeding. Nana screamed in pain as she collapsed from her feet, clutching the side I stuck with the scalpel and glaring at me. Nana Ijichi is her name. Level 32 Express, 8421 12,500. Internal bleeding, heavy, -75 hydrogen phosphide per second, is the current state. I knew my Sharingan eyes were spinning as they recorded each hand sign, and my own moved up to mimic her almost instinctively. Okay, that was better than nothing. My eyes flickered to my shuriken, and the same glow that had surrounded my chakra scalpel when I had thrown the washed over them. However, Nana formed a new set of seals before I could give it any more thought. I started using Sharingan Genjutsu to create a tiny illusion of Nana over my shoulder, creating the same seals, recalling Kakashi's trick against Zabuza. Hold on. What are you doing? Her eyes widened as she saw the child in front of her perfectly mimic her, and she whispered in bewilderment. Thank God. Most Uchihas had a unique genetic condition that kept our eyes moist. Looking into your future, I replied, looking at her without averting my gaze, and I see your death. Water release. Shooting water spear has been copied by you. She shows me the remaining seals for the ninjutsu, but she is so preoccupied with the genjutsu that she doesn't even realize it. Water release. Water spear shooting. As I hurled some of the nearby water at her in the shape of a spear, I yelled the name of her jutsu before she realized I was playing a trick. CP 1376. I'm exhausted from that. Does it cost more because I'm naturally drawn to fire? Oh. Nana screamed in pain as her own jutsu hit her in the face, sending her toppling back. You little cunt. She screeched angrily as she quickly recovered her footing, a deep cut on the side of her face, as well as her own rage, marring her features. You dare cut perfection. For that, I'll kill you. The ground beneath her crumpled under her acceleration, and she disappeared with a sharp cracking sound. I barely made it in time to bring my left arm up to block the devastating kick she threw at me, and my eyes widened as I did so. As her kick landed, there was a loud crunching sound, and even with my chakra collected in a quick sideways leap, I was still unable to control my scream of pain as the humerus bone broke from the attack. HP 121, which is quite an accomplishment, I must say, given that I wouldn't have survived if I hadn't done all of that. I moaned as I slowly stood up, letting my arm hang uselessly. Nana replied with a mean laugh. Ah, is the poor little baby hurt? She asked sarcastically. Want me to give it a better kiss? My mind was too clouded by pain to try to mute her Sharingan Genjutsu at the moment, so I mustered up the strongest glare I could manage in response. I discovered my kodachi, which was sitting next to me with its tip buried in the ground. However, I was too busy to pull it out, so I once more formed the seals for the chakra scalpel with one hand and positioned myself weakly against her, to her mocking laughter. You know, I'll love showing off your head to everyone, she yelled angrily as she charged at me, playing with me while gradually reducing my HP. She didn't even bother to use the technique that gave her the ability to strike so quickly. 92 HP. I can't rely on my brother anymore, he was too busy fighting. The kunoichi dodged it with a snort before slamming the palm of her hand into my chest as I swung the chakra scalpel feebly at her. HP 59. I don't want to die, damn it. I want to live on and change this prickly world for the more positive. I grabbed my kodachi's hilt and was able to prevent myself from falling. To try to stop the massacre, I want to live. The kodachi started to glow a little, and I tightened my hold on it. In response, Nana laughed and punched my face, making a sharp cracking sound that echoed off the walls. 23 HP. Fuck that shit, dying. A new method has been developed by you. Chakra flow. Chakra scalpel. Internal damage upon contact, the status effects of bleeding and organic damage, severity scales with level, and the choice of which organic target cut are all included in Chakra flow. Chakra scalpel. Level 1 to 0.00%. To give Naruto a friend, I'm going to kill this bitch and still be alive. I'm going to live. I yelled so loudly that Nana recoiled in surprise. It gave me a moment, and that was all I needed as my empowered kodachi was torn from the ground. Using all the strength I had left at the time, the now supernaturally sharp blade came whipped at Nana. Chakra flow. Chakra scalpel. Enabled me to cut deeper with even the slightest contact, causing the kunoichi to scream in agony as my sword managed to make a slight cut across her chest. I tore the fucking bitch's lungs to shreds. Her eyes were filled with disbelief at what had just transpired, and blood spurted from her mouth. Nana Ijichi is her name. Level 32 Express. 8421 12,500. Condition: severe internal bleeding. -100 hydrogen phosphide. Second, organ damage to both lungs. Death within 30 seconds if treatment is not received. I stood over her, glowing sword in hand, looking down at her thoughtfully as she collapsed to the ground, struggling to breathe as she choked on blood and oxygen. I'm better than you, I said at last, raising my sword. I won't let you suffer at the very least. After saying those words, I lowered the sword and killed her by cleaving her head off her body. Nana Ijichi has been vanquished by you. 40, superior quality kunai. High quality kunoichi sandals. Women's crimson chakra jacket. And plus 16,875 express and 12,000 ryo. Bounty, were looted and put in stock. You've advanced 1 level. You've advanced 1 level. A level has been added to Chakra Flow. Chakra Scalpel. A level has been added to Chakra Flow. Chakra Scalpel. After completing my task, I collapsed as fatigue overcame me and a shout from a distance reached my ears before a reassuring warmth surrounded me. To be absolutely honest with you, I have never been completely unconscious until today at least. I believe it was still today. And I'm also not in the kind of unconscious where your brain decides it's time to shut off. I've never been in a coma, so I can't say for sure, but maybe that was a coma. However, the first thing that came to mind for me after I chopped off that fucking bitch's head was the smell of industrial-grade hospital disinfectant, to the kind of stuff that had warning labels and you weren't sure if it wouldn't burn like acid if you got it on your skin. The next thing I recall is a constant beeping sound that accompanied each heartbeat. A heart monitor. I had foolishly attempted to open my eyes to look around, but I quickly regretted it as the light above burned my eyes and pierced my brain. I could have waited to feel the slightly itchy blanket on top of me, but there was too much starch on it, so I let out a groan as my sense of touch gradually became apparent. I could hear a murmur of hazy voices as I tried to open my eyes once more, and I was able to do so despite the light's painful effects. For a few moments, everything was hazy, but eventually I was able to focus my eyes and see the room, or more accurately, the window in front of me. You slept in a hospital bed, 100% restoration of your HP and CP. Indeed, I was in a hospital room, and the big window next to my bed revealed to me Konoha. You're awake, Uchiha-san. Good afternoon. Michiru sensed should be here shortly. She was quite insistent on being your primary physician when they brought you in, a cheerfully feminine voice said, drawing my attention to the room's door where a nurse with pastel blue hair and green eyes stood gesturing to someone in the hallway. Wah! I struggled to ask how long I had been unconscious, but my dry throat and mouth protested by coughing and rasping. The nurse gently helped me sit up so she could pour me a glass of water and assist me in drinking it. Here, she said, try again now, dear. How much time? I asked as my thoughts and ideas gradually started to make sense. What is the duration of your absence? A week. You were brought back along with the more severely wounded shinobi from the front lines, and you've been in the hospital for about 4 days now, the nurse asked, getting my nod in agreement. A week? I was unconscious for a damned week. I stared at her for a moment. I'm sure you have questions, but you will have to wait for Michiru-sensei. She'll be able to answer all of them, the nurse reassured me. Sensing something odd, I looked down and then paled a little when I noticed a tube extending from between my legs. Ah, a catheter. I won't consider it. A familiar voice said dryly, Well, it's about time you woke up, as Saya Taicho entered the room wearing an odd combination of a kimono and a smock. Her brown hair was pulled back into a ponytail, and her silver eyes had a glint of amusement. Go ahead and continue your round, Saki-san. I've got it from here. The nurse gave a slight bow of respect and said, of course, Michiru-sensei, before leaving the room. Yuri-chan, how are you feeling? With a raised eyebrow, she asked me as she took a pen from somewhere in my chart from the foot of my bed. Aha, confused mostly, I said, and a little uncomfortable with a tube shoved inside of me. Once I finish my checkup, we can work on getting that out of you and walking a bit, Saya Taicho assured me, snorting at my candor before shaking her head and writing something down. What is the last thing you remember? Well, we were attacking the enemy base on Tensai Bridge. We had managed to get inside, and we were engaged in a fierce battle to open the gates. I believe I ended up fighting a Jonin. A lot of it's a blur, but the last thing I remember is cutting that bitch's head off before falling unconscious, I said, scowling a little before shaking my head. Saya Taicho grinned and told me, that's better than what most do when first coming out of a week-long nap, which made me laugh. I saw the ending to that little spat you had with her, especially the applying your chakra scalpel to a weapon, devastating result, she said, nodding in agreement as she made a few more notes in her clipboard. Your little cut mutilated the woman's lungs. Hell, it would have taken someone on the level of Tsunade-sama to save her. Orochimaru was curious about what your little improvised jutsu did, so he conducted an autopsy and sent a report along. In response, I looked at Saya Taicho with wide eyes and asked, what? I asked in astonishment. Saya Taicho nodded in agreement. Hokage-sama has classified it as your personal jutsu for the time being, she told me as she stroked my leg. Congrats, not many make their own jutsu before they hit their teen years, she joked. Anyways, your left humerus had been broken in half by the time I had gotten to you, along with severe bruising on a couple of your organs and cracked ribs, she went on. And you managed to pick up a minor infection when you were fighting her as well, along with giving yourself minor chakra exhaustion on top of that. All said and done, you were completely fucked over and lived to tell the tale. Taicho's remarks made me laugh uncontrollably, and the woman smiled back. So how long am I trapped for? I glanced around the room and asked. 3 days at the shortest, she stated shortly thereafter. You're fully healed, I just want to make sure you're mobile before sending you back out, and you'll be on medical leave for a month after that, she gestured to deflect my objections. Hokage's orders, you're also going to be meeting a psychiatrist to go over your 2 near-death experiences to make sure you are still mentally stable. I groaned and sank back into the bed, sulking, while Taicho grinned indulgently. My team? With anxiety, I inquired. She smiled and said, alive and well, still on the front lines, and they weren't hurt during the mop-up operation. So, we took over the base. I received a nod in agreement when I asked for confirmation. I yawned abruptly, unable to keep my eyes open, and Taicho laughed, saying, get some sleep, Yuriko-chan, you earned it. Too exhausted to argue, I leaned back against my bed and fell into a deep sleep, nodding blearily. Everyone agrees that hospitals are boring when you're a patient. In fact, an Iwa shinobi would arguably agree with a Konoha shinobi on the matter. A shinobi found daytime television to be incredibly dull, which was why TVs were initially introduced into hospital rooms to provide patients with something to divert their attention from their boredom. Soap operas such as The Young and the Ninja were incredibly inaccurate and denigrated seduction experts worldwide. Shinobi Stunts, a civilian program in which other civilians perform some of the same stunts that shinobi do on a daily basis, was amusing for a few laughs but uninteresting. The way they disparaged the number of shinobi killed to defend their home was an insult of the highest magnitude. Talk shows? Only wear that in front of a shinobi if you want to die horribly. Kids shows? Bright, but boring, predictable, and cheesy. Screw that noise. Fortunately, I was able to locate my little piece of television paradise in 3 different locations. The news, a channel devoted to ninjas. You have to channel chakra into the remote control to get the channel to appear, and, honestly, anime reminiscent of One Piece and My Hero Academia. I'm not sure how it works, but thank you to Saya Taicho for showing me how to access it. Though a lot of it was theory talk, it would keep shinobi's attention and it kept me busy taking notes. Generally speaking, it ran shows that were somewhat similar to cooking shows, except that instead of cooking meals and cookies, we were creating deadly ninjutsu and insanity-enduring illusions. When my private room door opened, thank you clan privileges, I looked up, quickly turned off the TV, and sat up as attentively as possible as the goddamn Hokage walked into the room. To me, Hiruzen Sarutobi was the fucking goddamn golden standard of shinobi. He had no special clan jutsu or techniques, no unique elemental manipulation, no overpowered special transformation, just summoning, basic ninjutsu, and his own mind, and the man kicked everyone's ass. Take your Yondaime, take your Nidaime, and get your goddamn Shodai out of my way. Hokage-sama. He smiled at me as he walked in, and I was surprised to see that he was younger than he had appeared in the anime. He had fewer wrinkles and his hair was still somewhat colored. He waved me down and said, "You may relax, Yuriko-chan. You should not be concerned about standing at attention when you are a patient in the hospital," he said. This was Hiruzen mother-fucking Sarutobi bitches, so you would be blushing too. "Thank you Hokage-sama," I said. He chuckled a bit as he looked me over, glancing down at the notes with a knowing smile on his face, one that twitched further as he caught sight of the doodles I had made in the margins. "Hey, I'm 7, thank you very much. It's good to see you are recovering well," he told me kindly, causing my cheeks to heat up further. "I've been going over the reports on your progress and your performance at Tensai Bridge." I felt my entire body stiffen as I raised my head to look at him in shock. "Yes," he added, smiling and nodding to himself, "your progress is rather remarkable, I must say. Which is why, once you are cleared for duty, I am going to be promoting you to Chunin." I was staring at the Hokage in disbelief at this point, pretty sure that my jaw was through the earth's crust. "Proa promotiami?" I was able to gasp in surprise. The recommendation came from Saya-san, and it was endorsed by Goryo-san and Orochimaru-kun, he confirmed with a laugh. I swallowed hard at the thought of Orochimaru because, as much as I would have liked to, I was unable to comment on his behavior because I lacked evidence, and doing so would have increased suspicion of me. "And Sensei, my team, what will happen with them?" I asked. "You will remain under Hisai-san's command for the remainder of the war, and from there you will continue to remain a team, although you will occasionally be pulled to participate in missions on an as-needed basis," he told me. "It won't be made official until you are cleared for duty, but the paperwork is already finished and a flak jacket is being prepared for your size. Of course it is up to you to wear it or not." When I finally recovered from my shock, I said, "Iya, thank you, Hokage-sama," and nodded foolishly, admitting that I had heard him. He grinned and said, "Thank you for your service, Chunin Uchiha," before he excused himself, leaving me by myself in the room. I exclaimed, "Well a damn," as I came to terms with what had just transpired. Perhaps it was my shock, but I suddenly remembered something. Where was my box announcing the mission's success? At that moment, I noticed a tiny, blinking light in the corner of my eye. It resembled a transparent scroll, and as soon as I fixed my gaze on it, a new pop-up window appeared. After identifying a number of minor, potentially harmful issues for our users, we made a minor update to your interface. Rather than a pop-up that might have obscured your view of someone attempting to stab you, we have moved all pop-up notifications to the blinking scroll. When you fully focus on the scroll, a list of notifications will appear for you to review whenever you'd like. Greetings, management. As expected, a list of notifications that was at least 3 pages long was present. A quick tally revealed that I had obtained 12,498 Express and 59,600 Ryo from the 10 Chunin and 8 Samurai I had vanquished. The majority of it was the notifications of the people I had killed and the loot I had taken from them, something worth selling or trying out, I guess. The quest's completion award came next. The primary quest is done. The Tensai Bridge battle goal for Konohagakure: take control of the Iwagakure base across the bridge. Reward: field promotion to Chunin, 18,750 Express, 20,000 Ryo, 5,000 reputation with Konohagakure and allies. Bonus goal: conquer the base for Konohagakure and his allies with losses of less than 40%. I personally healed 250 soldiers. Your team is finished and survives. REWADS 10,000 Ryo and 12,500 Express are awarded for each completed objective. Secret goal: discovered a different route across the ravine. Reward: 8,000 Ryo, 12,500 Express. Wow, that would account for the 8 level up alerts. I earned 68,750 Express from the mission alone. The temptation to open the page and begin awarding my 40 stat points was strong, but I kept my attention on sifting through the different alerts. I was particularly interested in one. You've gained the Genius perk, and people have started to recognize your skills and refer to you as a genius. I blinked. What the fuck? Seriously, I've been winging it the entire time, so who in the 9 unholy hells would call me a genius? I groaned as I pressed the small icon on the box to reveal the benefit. Genius. You are near the top of the food chain with your skills, and people have heard of them and praised them for them. Don't let that get to you, though. You have a plus 25% XP gain for all skills and plus 1 int per level, applied retroactively. Okay. I guess I won't be complaining about that kind of bonus. I groaned as I sank back into the bed. Yes, I believe that Orochimaru would be watching me from now on, at the very least. How annoying. Shikamaru's phrase, "Oh," I shook my head, pushed those ideas from my mind for the time being, and accessed my status menu. Yuriko's name level, 24 Express. 13,1577, 7 years old. Gender. Female title. Chunin, plus 25% of all gains in reputation. Data HP 900 carbon monophosphide, 2914 STR 30, 33, int 67 dex 34, 37. VIT 30 WIS 42 luck, 15,232,252 Rio 40 stat points. I'm going to give my WIS 10 points and my dex 20, with the remaining 10 being split between STR and VIT. Damn, my new perk really increased my int. Yuriko's name level, 24 Express. 13,1577, 7 years old. Gender. Female title. Chunin, plus 25% of all gains in reputation. Data 1325 hydrogen phosphide CP. 3582 STR 35, 38, int 67. Dex. 54, 59. VIT 35 WIS 52 luck. 15,232,252 Rio. Those seem like Chunin statistics, I guess, and I sigh as I shake my head. I'm a Chunin now, at 7 years old, and I honestly didn't know how to feel about that. Since it was a promotion during the war, it would be reviewed after it was over, but since Hokage-sama gave it to me, it would probably remain. Fuck it. I wasn't going to be able to stay hidden forever. At least this way, he would find it more difficult to try to kidnap me because I was temporarily in the public eye. Therefore, I should use the time I have been given by my medical leave to train and begin earning bonus stat points. I wonder if there are any dungeons or battle mobs for me to use as a training ground. Speaking of loot, inventory, I said, squinting as I combed through the various tools and objects I had obtained before spotting a particular pair of items. Women's Crimson Chakra Jacket. This sleeveless jacket is made with seals that enhance the wearer's chakra control and enable the item to physically adapt to the wearer. It costs 25% less than other chakra items and is 100/100ths durable. Okay, so that's pretty damn cool. I'll look at it later. This brings us to the second item. High-quality kunoichi sandals. Kunoichi wear sandals with small seals that help them control their elemental chakras and allow the item to physically adapt to the wearer. Their durability is 100/100ths and they are 15% effective with any of the nature chakra control skills. Heeled sandals. But the effect of gosh damn it, why was I reborn a girl? Well, it's pointless to moan about it now, because I am a girl, and if I attempted to have a gender-changing operation, there would be too many questions, if there were such a thing. After glancing around the hospital room for a minute, I sighed and switched the TV back on. I smiled as one of the local anime series, Tales of Chakra, began to play. It was actually quite interesting. Freedom. Wearing a basic pair of shorts and a t-shirt, I cheered joyfully as I signed the final discharge paperwork, receiving a laugh from Saya Taicho as I slapped the pen down. This place isn't that horrible, is it? I turned to glare at her as she asked in a playful manner, her smile growing. Yes, I said. The books here are terrible, the food is terrible, the majority of the daytime TV is terrible, and you are terrible for forcing me to spend 72 hours here. I didn't care that I was acting like a child because, damn it, I am a child in my physical form. Despite my outspoken objections, Saya Taicho handled it well, ruffling my hair before accompanying me to the doors. I'll be redeploying in a week to Kikyo Pass, she said, adding that, Mizu seems to be making a push for it. Be safe, was a poor choice of words, but I had no idea what else to say. Saya Taicho was older and more seasoned than I was, but I still wanted her to be safe. I nodded to indicate that I understood. She patted me on the back and reassured me, don't worry, squirt. I'll be here to scare you when you wind up in the hospital again. I rolled my eyes at her, gave the older woman an impetuous hug, and left the hospital, catching a glimpse of her somewhat dazed expression. It was an interesting experience to walk through the village, as some of the shinobi recognized my face, and one of them stopped me to thank me for saving his life during the battle in the field at Tensai Bridge. I took a breath of fresh air and concentrated on my next task, which was to go home. It was odd because, despite being thanked, I can only dimly recall the man from the battle blur that I spent most of my time healing, taking soldier pills to replenish my chakra, and then healing once more. I was relieved to be inside the Uchiha compound, where the guards greeted me warmly as I made my way home. I stopped as I got to the front door, realizing that it had been a long time since I had been here and that nobody had been here since I had left to go to the front lines. The jacket itself was a short one that came down to just below my ribs and seemed to be made to be left open because I couldn't close it around my own flat chest. I pushed my way in, blinking back the few tears that threatened to well up, and called out a greeting to the empty house as I took off my sandals and entered the house proper. After I was sure I was alone, I opened my inventory screen and pulled out the two items that had caught my attention. They were both deep red in color and had a small collar that stopped a few inches short of my chin. I'm going to get breasts, aren't I? And without giving it any thought? As I tested moving around in the backyard at increasing speeds, I found that the sandals were oddly comfortable once they were sized to fit me. Perhaps my dex score helped me maintain my balance. I put the sandals aside and put my old sandals in my inventory, satisfied that they wouldn't impair my mobility. When I picked up the jacket, I gave it a curious look and noticed that, aside from the seals on the inside, the outside was fairly bare and devoid of any distinguishing marks. Having made up my mind, I hurried into the room, took off the clothes the hospital had given me, and began searching through my belongings for something different to wear. I was first apprehensive about wearing skirts and the like, but since I had them in my closet and knew I would eventually have to wear them on a mission, I made the decision to just mono woman upa and wear one with a pair of biker shorts underneath. Ultimately, I chose a sleeveless black shirt and a dark blue skirt that hung down to my knees. After getting dressed, I quickly went to the bathroom to wash my face and do some damage control on my hair, which I usually wore around my neck. However, because I graduated early, I haven't had as much time to do as much as brush it out and pull it into a ponytail. Now that I was looking at it, though, I actually liked it longer and unbound as it fell past my shoulder. After I finished brushing out all the tangles, I decided to leave my hair alone and went to the door, putting on my new sandals and grabbing the jacket as I went. I then went to my preferred outfitter. The shop, called Sugiro's Shinobi Outfitters, carried a lot of high-quality items at relatively low prices, and the shopkeeper, a bear-like man who I was pretty sure was broader than Jiraiya and not fat, won me over with his cheerful demeanor and the jokes he liked to tell. My brother had once taken me there. Greetings. As I walked in, Suguro greeted me with a big smile and said, "Well, if it's not the medic who kept a quarter of my customers alive." "Which clients? I take it that this is a store." He looked stupefied at me and then erupted in laughter, so I quickly shot back a smile. "Oh, I like you, Yuriko-chan. The only Uchihas I've encountered with a sense of humor are you, your brother, and that Obito kid. So, need to do some resupplying, kiddo?" he said in between bursts of laughter, which made me smile more. "Or additional goods to sell?" "I might have some stuff for you later," I said. Suguro was my go-to vendor for the loot I had accumulated from my fights. Fortunately, the man only asked if I knew anything about it. "You do some customization work on clothing, right?" "Well, not myself personally, my daughter is the one who does all the work," he said shrugging, adding, "but if you leave the order with me I can pass it along to her. She isn't here at the moment, on a date with Sumaya boy," he said, and I couldn't help but giggle at his growl. After a moment of reflection, I said, "That works," and set the jacket I was carrying down on the counter. "Iya acquired this jacket during my trip to Tensai Bridge," I explained, opening it up to reveal the seals. "From what I can tell the seals help with the wearer chakra controller somehow," I said, tracing the seals for him, the big man nodding, his eyes glinting perceptively. "And no, I am not selling it. I wanted to add the clan symbol onto the right side of the front here. I'm leaving the back open in case I find a symbol for myself." "Ah, ye know me too well, lass," he said, laughing. "All right, I'll tell her what you want. Would it bother you if I left a trace of the seal, though? It would sell well even if I could only create a weaker effect." It was startling to hear that this man was one of only 3 sealing experts in the village, along with Minato and Jiraiya. "Only if I get a copy of the trace," I shot back, smiling. "And a 10% discount on my next supply stock up?" Suguro narrowed his eyes at me and moaned a little before he let out a loud sigh. "All right," he conceded, much too dramatically to be true. "Why don't you drive me into poverty?" "Like that would break your poor wallet," I teased, snorting in response. "Thanks a lot, Suguro-san. However, I have more errands to run now." "All right, my daughter should have it ready by tomorrow, so please return." As I was leaving the store, he called out to me and waved for me to hear. The training grounds were my next destination. From what I remembered, the lower numbered ones, 1 to 20, were for team and genin training, but there were Morea up to 50, if I remember correctly, and the ones I was looking for were training fields 20 to 33. Based on their description as being overrun with chakra beasts, I wouldn't be shocked if those locations were the dungeons for me to use. As I got closer, a big screen did indeed float before. The Konohagakure Environmental Training Grounds are the dungeons in Konohagakure. Tobirama Senju and Madara Uchiha worked together to create them using ninjutsu and space time seals. Each field has beasts that have changed their chakras that must be defeated, and although the danger is high, if you are strong enough, you can find items that other shinobi have lost that you can claim as your own. Unless otherwise permitted, fields are only available to Chunin rank and higher. Only one field can be entered every 24 hours. 20. Blackwood Training Grounds. Suggested levels 20 to 25. Although the Blackwood Training Ground appears to be small, it is home to squirrels that have been assimilating chakra from the ground for decades. Be cautious, though, as they are vicious. Hope you don't offend the forest boss. 21. Wobegon Swamp. Suggested level 25 to 30. Wobegon Swamp is home to a species of falcons that make the most of their aerial advantage by buffeting intruders while they are stranded on the ground with their powerful wind release jutsus. Be careful, though, because the boss does not like people who invade his territory. 22. Recommended level 30 to 35. Dry Gulch Wasteland. This training ground will test your knowledge of the value of water, but be aware that other creatures are also thirsty and have learned to survive by consuming blood. 23. Shattered Fields, Plains. Suggested level 35 to 40. When this field was formed, something went wrong and the ground itself was broken up and separated, leaving only a few narrow paths to connect the islands. Be careful where you step because there won't be a way back if you fall. 24. Recommended levels 40 to 45. Takayama Mountain Simulation Training Area. Designed to help Konoha ninja train for combat in mountainous areas similar to Kumogakure's, the animals that roam this area have merged with the elements that rage within them. I stopped reading about the different training grounds because it would be a long time before I reached them, and I blinked in surprise as I gazed at the box floating in front of me. Oh well, I'm glad I didn't come here earlier in the hopes of super grinding myself because I couldn't have gotten in anyhow. I shook my head and turned away for the time being because I wasn't going to go in today for 2 reasons. First, I needed to make sure my skills were up to par after leaving the hospital, and second, I had an hour-long appointment with a psychiatrist. That will be enjoyable, won't it? In Konoha, the Yamanaka clan held a few important positions. First, they were our main interrogators, so it's difficult to lie to someone who lives only in your imagination. A second, they were our gardeners, which may not seem impressive until you consider that these gardens contain some of the most deadly and toxic plants in the elemental nations. And third, they were the village's main source of psychiatrists to conduct psychological tests on its shinobi population. I was meeting with one of these Yamanakas in a small office with a single window and a dozen different kinds of silencing seals etched on the walls. Hey, the information we have might be related to psychosis, thank you very much. Welcome, Yuiko-chan, said Fuyuko Yamanaka, my designated psychiatrist, with a warm and inviting gaze and a tight bun for her pale blonde hair. Please, settle in and get comfortable. Would you like something to drink? I sat down on the regular couch across from Fuyuko-sensei and said, green tea if you have it, thank you. Now, this is just a basic psychological evaluation to ensure your mental stability for continued service as a Chunin. Congratulations on that, by the way, she said, making my face heat up as I ducked my head in response. The woman quirked her lips at me as she moved to the small kitchenette that already had a pot of hot water boiling. She brought it over and quickly prepared the tea for the two of us, setting a full cup before me. After a few moments, I said, it's still kind of surprising. To be honest, I'm not even sure if I'm ready to be a Chunin. As I looked up, Fuyuko-sensei reassured me with a soothing smile, that is absolutely normal. In circumstances like this, not many people are sure they are prepared for such a promotion. Will that stop you from living up to that promotion? Obviously not. I mean, no. I will be doing everything I can to live up to the faith placed in me with this promotion, I yelled, before blushing and freezing at the inadvertent shout. As I understand it, you had some close encounters during your most recent mission. Why don't you tell me about those? Fuyuko-sensei asked with a soft and understanding smile, chuckling slightly in amusement as she leaned back in her chair. I inhaled deeply and prepared myself for a lengthy session. As I strolled through the streets of Konohagakure, I exhaled. A new day had arrived, and I was prepared to begin advancing in my training. I thought yesterday's session with Fuyuko-sensei had gone pretty well, and from what I could tell, so did she. Going over the 2 near-death experiences I had during the battle for Tensai Bridge, feeling the rage I had felt when I had fought the John and Nana, and realizing the grim reality when I was overpowered by the Chunin Shiki had all been emotionally taxing. She had reassured me that those emotions were quite normal and typical, particularly for shinobi who never know what will happen next. She also said that every mission could truly be our last, whether it was due to misfortune, accident, or the fact that our opponent was simply superior to us. She spent the remainder of the meeting discussing how I was going through a war before I was even a teenager, and I was fairly certain that she was trying to find out if I harbored any grudges against Konoha for making me fight before I had reached the double digits for my age. Just so you know, I wasn't. After the meeting, I essentially headed straight home, with the exception of stopping at a nearby restaurant for dinner. Since none of us knew when we would be returning, our refrigerator was empty. At the moment, we only had canned goods that would last until the end of time, and let's just say that I would much rather eat field rations than those. Actually, field rations taste pretty close to ass, but they don't taste exactly like it. I leveled up my chakra control abilities, tree walking, and water walking, after eating for a while before giving up and going to bed, where I slept like a rock. I was now returning to Sugiro's to retrieve my new jacket. Regrettably, I had few defensive options because my typical combat attire had been essentially destroyed in my altercation with Nana. However, as a kunoichi, I was expected to avoid enemy attacks rather than sit and take them like a samurai. Aside from that, I recently discovered a clever little seal that would enable me to boost the defensive capabilities of objects made of cloth. It wouldn't be as powerful as, say, iron, but it seems that it could make something like a shirt with a cotton weave as strong as Kevlar. Additionally, I believe I could get away without wearing armor because the majority of shinobi outfits are made of more durable materials. I called out, "Good morning," as soon as I walked into the store, attracting Sugiro's attention. He exclaimed, "Ah, welcome back, Yuriko-chan. With joy. Here to pick up your order, then? One sec. Hane, Yuriko is here for her custom order." A female voice yelled, "Coming," and then a woman with blue eyes and red hair emerged from behind the big store owner. According to Sugiro's physical attributes, his daughter was not even a foot taller than me. The adolescent woman had delicate curves and was small in comparison to her father, who was a giant. She gave me a big smile and said, "Yes, I got your jacket right here," as she gave me the jacket with the Uchiha clan emblem on it. I took the jacket with a smile on my face and tried it on over my black sleeveless shirt to see how it fit. I said appreciatively, "Thanks a lot," and slightly adjusted the collar. "It's good work." I looked up from my jacket to meet Hane's examining eyes. What?" I asked anxiously as her gaze lingered on me. She told me, "That skirt does not work with that jacket," following a few anxious moments of silence during which her father mumbled something that sounded like, "Here we go again," while he sank his face into the palm of his hand. "The undershirt works, but blue and red, they just clash in a terrible way. I don't have any other colors for my skirts," I defensively said, blinking as I took a tense step back from her, a weird sense of inadequacy rising inside me. After responding with a sigh, the civilian woman grabbed my wrist, pulled me to the changing room, and pushed me inside. She gave the order, "Wait here," and then strode away. I turned to Suguro, blinking in surprise, and he just shook his head. "She gets like that whenever she encounters a travesty of fashion, as she calls it," he said, grunting in agony. Just to go along with it, many are actually happy with the result. I gave a slow nod, then looked anxiously at the teenager scuttling through the clothes racks in a store corner before returning my attention to her father. I interrupted to get his attention once more. "Actually, there was something I wanted to ask you about," I said. "I was wondering, do you have any kind of holsters for a kodachi that will work on the leg?" I asked him. "See, I normally have it on my back, but it's hard to draw it quickly when it's behind me, and I need my waist free so I can reach my pouch easier." Suguro nodded in comprehension, then hummed back. Just as Hane reappeared in front of me, pushing an armful of clothes into me, he said, "I think I get what you're looking for, 1 second, and vanished into the back. "Try these on," she said, and then she closed the door. I sighed in resignation, blinking at the way what should have been a straightforward pickup was going, and started removing my own clothes to follow her instructions. I quickly changed into the clothes she had chosen for me because they were easy to put on, which is a feature of most shinobi attire, and I had to grudgingly admit, after seeing myself in the mirror, that they did work. The skirt had been replaced with a crimson-red one that was shorter than the blue one I had been wearing, going halfway down to my thigh and bearing a slit on the left side to ensure that it didn't interfere with my mobility. A pair of spats were on underneath to protect my modesty, and a pair of thigh-length stockings led down to my new sandals before my new jacket completed the ensemble. My shirt was still black, but it was now a t-shirt that covered part of my upper arm and my hands with reinforced gloves. I sighed as I grudgingly opened the door to a cheer of excitement. As she observed my new attire, Hane asked with a broad smile, "Am I good? Or am I good?" "Thank you, I guess," I said, managing to escape as I looked down at myself and realized that I had truly turned into a girl. "It's a good," I said. Hane gave me a smile and then bobbed her head. Suguro said, "Well, she isn't wrong, you definitely look like a kunoichi in that outfit," as he emerged. He laughed, a tiny one, but a kunoichi nonetheless, and I gave him a futile glare before passing him a holster. He clarified, "This goes on your right shin, should be exactly what you were looking for." After swallowing my frown, I took the red holster, which I hastily fastened around my shin as directed, then I opened my kodachi, slid it in, and fastened it. When I stood up, I noticed that it reached my thigh. I attempted to move around, even pinning myself to the shop's ceiling, before attempting the draw. Even when I tried it on my lower back, it was much slower than when I had it on my back. As I made a few trial swings, the 60 cm blade easily popped out of the sheath. "It's perfect," I said, beaming broadly at the man. "So how much do I owe for all of this and a few spares of the outfit?" It turns out that quite a bit, so after 25,000 ryo, I left with 3 more copies of my new kodachi harness and several copies of my outfit sealed away. It was time to train, so after taking off my clothes and getting a quick snack, I gathered the remaining combat gear and headed back to the training area. The Blackwood Forest was the first option I chose, and as soon as I touched the gate, I was in front of a forest that I was positive had never been there before. Yes, for some reason, Tobarama and Madara had chosen to manipulate space and time in order to create pocket dimensions into which chakra mutations could be forced. I sighed and shook my head before moving into the forest and starting to walk through it. Hey, what could go wrong? It's just a group of squirrels. What the devil was wrong with me at the time I thought that? I should have known better than to tempt Murphy. I was now encircled by 2-foot-tall, waist-high, fucking, ravenous creatures that were slaving to get a taste of poor, defenseless Yuriko. As my kodachi, a light with chakra flow, chakra scalpel, sliced deeply into a squirrel that had lunged for my throat, I realized that I might not be helpless after all. The crimson squirrel screams as my blade slashes through it, seriously injuring a number of its muscles and organs. After ignoring the beast and throwing a few shuriken at it to make it retreat, I put my kodachi away to create the seals for a new fire jutsu that I had learned from the Uchiha Jutsu library. As I spat out a shotgun-like blast of fireballs that struck 3 of the squirrels, I yelled, "Fire release! Phoenix Sage Fire!" The squirrels tumbled back, the hidden shuriken compounding the damage. As another squirrel rushed out of the brush to try to jump on me, my instincts kicked in and I rolled to the side. I quickly applied a hasty fire release, chakra flow, to the blade as it ignited the squirrel, and then I drew out my kodachi and slashed as it came free. With my back to a tree, I inhaled deeply and kept my kodachi ready while I watched the squirrels that I had slashed with chakra flow, chakra scalpel, slowly die from blood loss. Since I first stepped onto the training ground and began battling these kami-cursed squirrels, how long has it been? Half an hour? An hour? Shaking my head, I reapplied chakra flow, chakra scalpel, and cut the chakra flow to the fire release. Chakra flow, because I wanted to train with it and because, to be honest, it was more harmful than anything else I had right now. When my Sharingan warned me that one of the squirrels was jumping up at my face, I anticipated its next move and slashed my kodachi through its neck, instantly decapitating it before flipping over as another squirrel attempted to pull out my hamstrings. In an instant, my free hand flashed through seals to form a chakra scalpel, which I then used to cut the squirrel's spine. As I landed, I kicked a squirrel away with my foot before lowering myself to my knees and stabbing up with my kodachi, which sent another squirrel flying overhead. If there was one thing I had learned from my time on the front lines, it was to be aware of my surroundings. It was very easy to become engrossed in the Sharingan's ability to predict danger, even though it could only see what I saw. Fighting with my brother taught me how to be mobile during combat, to continuously look around me and keep an eye on things both above and below as I moved. Leaping and pushing myself off a nearby tree, I flew over 2 squirrels and threw my kodachi down into one of them, embedding it in its spine before landing on the other. I stunned the beast with my admittedly small weight and then pushed a chakra scalpel into its brain. After killing the paralyzed squirrel with my kodachi, I turned around and saw the last two moving squirrels slowly rising to their feet. I created 3 seals to prevent them from recovering. I yelled, "Fire release! Great fireball!" and then let out a single fireball that was as tall as me, consuming a significant portion of my chakra in the process. The 2 squirrels perished shortly after they were caught in the flames because they were unable to flee in time. I gasped as I looked around for any more dangers, but I was relieved to see that the only enemy left was the other squirrel I had paralyzed. I walked over to it, completed it, and then leaned back against a tree. I shook my head and gasped, "Goddammit, squirrelsa fucking squirrels are this dangerous. And it only gets worse from RyugaXD, damn it all." I shook my head, opened the alerts menu, and began going through them. I ended up with 6,650 express and 5,600 Ryo from killing the 7 squirrels, along with a variety of crafting materials. That was the 4th ambush I killed today, bringing my total to 26,600 express and 22,400 Ryo gained so far, which is equivalent to 2 more levels and puts me at level 26. I'm in a dungeon, and the damned box won't let me use my new stat points. Talk about a pain in the ass. After clearing my mind, I took out a sword maintenance kit and started repairing my Kodachi, which was only at 40 durability. I didn't want to take the chance of it breaking in the middle of a battle. After finishing that, I topped off my health before my stomach started to growl. Well, it must be around noon at this point because it is difficult to see the sun through the dense tree foliage, even if it does. However, since this was a pocket dimension, it is impossible to know if the sun was actually in the proper position in relation to the area outside the training ground. I took a sandwich from the stock and ate it while humming to myself. It was odd how my powers worked. Everything I put into the inventory seemed to go into stasis. I tested it with some raw meat and left it for a week, and it came out as if I had just purchased it. I could also put in items that I had taken from my enemies, even though it was automatically robbing them. Additionally, they occasionally possessed items that they had never used at all. So, from where did the items originate? Did someone decide to reincarnate me as Yuriko Uchiha here? Or something else? Did they have a benign nature? Oh no. Not to mention the sense of dread that grew stronger the more I considered it. The thought was too painful for my brain. Yes, I believe that in this case, the best course of action would be to remain ignorant until I find more convincing proof. I got back up and started walking deeper into the forest after eating my sandwich, which thankfully also helped restore some of my CP. I leapt up into the trees, where it was easier to stay hidden among the leaves than on the ground. I kept my Sharingan active while I looked for my next group of adversaries. I soon discovered a small group of rabbits close by, all of them knee-high. A quick observe informed me that they were killer rabbits, which means they were chakra beasts. Fortunately, they hadn't appeared to notice me yet as I moved through the trees, positioning myself for my own ambush. I landed on a branch above them, and because I was so preoccupied with them, I didn't realize it was already occupied until I woke him up. My observe informed me that the creature sitting next to me was a screaming squirrel, looking at me with astonished eyes, who was about to scream, and whose mouth was already open. Damn it, my ambush is over. The little guy's scream was so loud that my quickly drawn kunai was able to silence it, but it had knocked me off balance and I ended up falling to the ground right in the middle of the now vigilant killer rabbits. 1315 HP status. Unbalanced, temporarily deaf, 30 seconds left. I threw myself up and flipped back before a rabbit slammed down exactly where I had been lying prone, leaving a large dent in the forest floor. I didn't wait to see what they did or to get my hearing back. My inner ear went to fuck from that little bastard's scream, and I stumbled a little as I stood up. I made a mistake on my third hand seal, which resulted in a chakra backfire, but I still managed to keep moving while I formed the seals for the mystical palm. 1263 HP status. Unbalanced, temporarily deaf, 30 seconds left. I frowned as my hands trembled from the shock, avoiding a rabbit's bite. My goodness, those teeth are sharp. I made the seals again, this time correctly, and then covered my ears with my glowing hands to repair the inner ear damage and regain my balance. 5 of the rabbits jumped at me at once, just as they had managed to herd me into a trap. I slashed one of the rabbits, tilting my head just enough for one to pass my head by, but it left a scratch on my ear, and my Kodachi was out in a second. In what would likely be an amazing display of flexibility, I smashed my right foot into the fourth and spun myself so that I could then drive it into the fifth with a heel drop. My hand came flying up in a palm strike to the third, and I avoided the fourth by bending forward. Before continuing my fight with the rabbits, I stood up and took a moment to apply Chakra Flow, Chakra Scalpel, to my Kodachi. As his fellows recovered from my counterattacks, the one that had scratched my ear had spun around to face me and jumped at me once more in a flurry of movement. These little things made a huge leap, thanks to Kami. I managed to cleave off one of his legs with my kodachi before I turned to the side and brought the blade around to protect myself from another rabbit's lunge, all thanks to my Sharingan. Holy cow, I was really slammed against my kodachi after sliding backwards from that rabbit. In retaliation, I grabbed the still airborne rabbit by the ears, slammed it into my rising knee, threw it as hard as I could into a nearby tree, and finally killed it with a single seal fired with one hand, fire release, fireball. I swerved around another attempted attack, gritting my teeth. God damn, there were so many of them even though they only had one attack. As another one blurred above me, I was forced to abruptly lean back far enough that I could feel the tips of the grass blades beneath me tickle my scalp. With my hands on the ground, I managed to leverage myself into a heel drop on the rabbit, feeling the spine of the beast break as my foot drove it into the ground. As another rabbit attempted to exploit my precarious position, I used my kodachi to stab it while balancing myself on one hand. After flipping the surprisingly heavy body off my kodachi, I used a palm strike to knock another rabbit off balance and flipped the rest of my body up, balancing on one hand while another pair attempted to sever my legs. I was able to propel myself into the air by bending my elbow, and I flipped so that my feet touched the ground first. I put my kodachi back in its sheath and swung my blade in front of me to keep the rabbits from trying to attack as I landed. I then leapt back to gain more distance. I inhaled after flipping through the necessary seals. I exclaimed, "Fire release! Great fireball!" as I continuously ejected flames to burn the three people gathered together. I exhaled with relief as I started to mop up the immobile hostiles after I was positive they were out of the way. I then extinguished the flames and looked around for any more moving hostiles. Damn, did that previous scream bring in more of the 9 little bastards? Looking up at the foliage above me, I muttered to myself, gotta have to be more careful for those screamers then. Stupid little buggers. Alright, let's see what I got from that little adventure. I was excited to see an alert for a new perk when I opened the alerts menu to review the reports it provided on the gains for Express and other things. You have acquired a new skill as a result of your ability to avoid your enemies. Dodge passive plus 15% effectiveness at evading enemy attacks, level 1 to 0.00%. Okay, I can definitely use something like that. I don't like getting hurt, and it would have been so much easier to avoid Nana's attacks in situations like that. I exhaled, pushed the memory away, and started going through the various kill alerts. Okay, so that's 400 Express and 5,900 Ryo with various crafting items. I really should learn how to craft or bring them to Suguro. And 9 killer rabbits, and a screaming squirrel. I sighed and took a moment to collect my thoughts before letting my body relax and moving forward once more. Strangely, though, despite what appeared to be some respectable vegetation, I didn't come across anything as I went deeper or notice any indications of habitation. Instead, the chakra mutations seemed to avoid the entire area. My whole body tensed as I waited with bated breath, and my eyes snapped up as I saw some movement. I exhaled in relief when a small, typical-sized rabbit hopped out of the underbrush of a nearby group of trees. "Well, hey there, little guy," I exclaimed, letting out a little sigh of relief as I lowered my defenses and took a step toward him. "What are you doing in here? Actually, how have you survived here?" When I introduced myself and started to move in its direction, the rabbit had frozen, but I was unaware of it as I moved forward. As I drew nearer, its beady eyes watched everything I did. All hell broke loose just as I was bending over to pet the motionless rabbit and look for tags in case someone's pet had gone missing. Before I could even realize why I had ever turned off my Sharingan, the rabbit had abruptly disappeared from my view. Then, with the force of a tour bus heading to a fat camp, something struck me in the stomach. The next thing I knew, I was taking another flying lesson before colliding with a tree hard enough to break my back. 952 HP what? I tried to reorient myself by blinking again, but all I saw was the same rabbit hopping in my direction. This time, however, there were bold red letters floating above me. Kerbanog Rabbit. Level 33,500 Hydrogen Phosphide CP. 1,500. Oh my god, what have the founders of Konohagakure done to me today? At this point, I made the decision to use a chakra scalpel to kick Tobarama or Madara in the balls whenever I saw them, whichever of those jerks I encountered first. Even though they would probably be an impure resurrection zombie, the idea is still the same. Hold on. Where is the rabbit now? OSHT. The demon rabbit tore through the tree that prevented my rabbit-induced flight as if it hadn't been there, and I threw myself to the side just in time to avoid getting mauled. In an attempt to locate the rabbit, which was now concealed among the underbrush, I hastily pulled out my kodachi and began. Chakra flow. Chakra scalpel on the blade. I must make sure Sakari ni-san never discovers that I am being pursued by a rabbit. My sense of danger heightened as I threw myself to the side once more, this time spotting the rabbit attempting to sever a piece of my head. I was able to graze its skin with my scalpel-powered blade, but the rabbit's chakra rebuffed my chakra. What the fuck is this rabbit, really? In an attempt to gain some distance from what could only be the Darkwood Forest boss, I threw myself aside to make more space and leapt up onto one of the overhanging branches. Observe, I gasped as I continued to move, maintaining eye contact with the rabbit. How is it tree running? Kerbanog rabbit. Level 33,500 hydrogen phosphide CP. 1,500. Benefits unassuming form. Anyone approaching its domain would underestimate it because of how weak it appears. Because it feeds on other chakra beasts, the superior chakra beast has an exceptionally dense chakra that enables it to repel any chakra that is weaker than its own from invading its body. This makes it the alpha predator of its environment. What a motherfucker's son. Alright, this thing in front of me is bullshit, so if I make it through this, I'm going to be practicing more offensive jutsu than just my chakra scalpel. I started shaping my chakra after sheathing my kodachi. I really need to practice more one-handed seals. Fire release. Phoenix Sagefire. I blasted the bouncing demon rabbit that was pursuing me with a barrage of fireballs. A few twitches of my fingers caused the shuriken concealed in the fireballs that went wide to abruptly separate from the flames and start spinning around in an attempt to catch the rabbit in the nano-wire attached to them, even though the majority of them missed. The rabbit then made the decision to just bite through the wire. A single strand of wire was sufficient to hang a fully grown man from it. I yelled, "Fucking bullshit, this thing is a rabbit," and began to run once more, throwing chakra-infused kunai behind me as I went. It has to be the Biju the sage told no one about. I pulled out my kodachi once more and began applying fire release. Chakra flow, to it, then switched back to the rabbit while growling. It's difficult to strike a normal-sized rabbit with a sword while it's moving, Kami, but fortunately my quick change of direction allowed me to catch it in between leaps and make a flaming slash across its flank. Fortunately, I now appeared to be faster than the rabbit, so I kept running without pausing to check the damage I had done. Whoa, the forest is burning. Oh, I see. Doesn't fire plus trees create more fire? I had a demon rabbit at my back, probably angry that I heard it, and I was going straight for a fire. Why do you hate me so much, Kami? As I finished a series of hand seals, I gritted my teeth and changed my course. Sheathing my kodachi, I slammed my foot against a branch as hard as I could manage, sending me flying at a 90-degree angle. I then turned around in midair. I pumped more chakra into the jutsu than was necessary and exclaimed, "Fire release. Great fireball," at the top of my lungs. As I blew out a fireball easily twice my own size straight into the demon's face, I was relieved to find that the rabbit had been watching everything I did. As the fireball continued for a considerable distance before abruptly exploding, all I could do was stare. Well, that's not how it usually works. I'll have to check my alerts later. Unfortunately for me, the rabbit somehow managed to convey a sense of complete rage at me as it blurred out of the conflagration. Was I experiencing true bloodlust, I wonder? Oh, fuck. Kerbanog rabbit. Level 32,145 hydrogen phosphide CP. 1,034. The good news is that I'm causing damage to it. Unfortunately, it was now bouncing off the trees all around me and giving a very good impression of Rock Lee during his battle with Gaara. Before I could get his pattern down enough to start avoiding his attacks, the rabbit slammed into my back and shaved off the better part of 500 HP. I coughed in pain. My Sharingan was becoming more adept at anticipating its movements as I was able to launch a counterattack, and I was beginning to adjust to his speed. At this point, the battle was one of attrition, with me using my kodachi to catch its side once more while it tripped me, slamming me to the ground and slashing off an additional 135 hit points. However, given how quickly its CP was decreasing, it must have been utilizing some sort of speed boosting method. All I had to do was hold on until its chakra ran out. Then hopefully it wouldn't be able to defend itself against my attack. The rabbit abruptly stopped as it fell to the ground, and the surrounding area was a jumble of broken trees, scorched ground, and general devastation. When it finally happened, I almost yelled with delight as it forced me below 200 HP. I snarled, "All right, you little bastard, Time for revenge, while I rubbed my Kodachi with chakra flow. Chakra scalpel. Let's see you repulse my chakra when you don't have any of your own. It was definitely making my retaliation difficult because, as I pursued it, it used its innate evasiveness to dodge my blows. Nevertheless, I was able to drive it into one of my blows that sliced the hamstring of its back leg by employing a cunning little maneuver called rebounding kunai. With its leg severely injured, the beast collapsed to the ground, unable to continue. I gasped as I stared at the defenseless beast, feeling a sort of giddy rage. 3 times I've nearly died 3 times since I've arrived, I said. I created the hand seals I required to kill the beast. Now I am getting revenge for it, I said. As I released the flamethrower onto the beast, I yelled, now burn, fire release. Great fireball, and continued to feed the fire until I nearly ran out of chakra. Congratulations. The rabbit of Kerbanog has been vanquished. Ryo got 15,000 and 10,000 express. Darkwood Forest Key and Jutsu Scroll were stolen from Inaba Rabbit and placed in the inventory. I roared with pride, you're goddamn right, I beat that thing, and burst out laughing. I don't know who did Ida, but if I ever find who put that damn rabbit in here, I am going to remove their genitalia. You will now find your obvious reward at the entrance as you leave Darkwood Forest. At this point, I didn't even give a damn because I was hungry, exhausted, and ready to get home. Nevertheless, after the transportation's flash of light ended, my gaming instincts led me to a chest that appeared to have been there for decades, with a note on top stating that it was the prize Hashirama had left for the first person to clear the forest. I'm not shocked that someone hasn't cleared it yet, especially in light of the beast of a rabbit that had been inside. After obtaining the key from the inventory, I opened the chest and discovered a sheathed Kodachi seated inside. I yelled, observe, while I gazed at the blade. Tasuki no Usagi, Rabbit of the Moon, constructed by the smith Muramasa and given to Hashirama, this Kodachi was left by the Shodai for the person who killed the feared rabbit that was hiding in the Darkwood Forest. Chakra reactive. Plus 50 dex when equipped. Plus 1550 STR when illuminated by the moon. Varies according to the moon's phase, with the full moon providing the greatest advantages. 3,500 durability. That's a pretty good weapon, I must say. Since my father had given me this sword as a gift, I was hesitant to replace it, but I eventually needed the strength it provided, so I put the newer one in the holster in its place. I groaned and started to limp home, trying to heal myself as much as I could as I went. Okay, time to head home, I told myself. Being a gamer was awful at times.
This was it for today. To watch next part, subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. Till then, see you next time.